This week on Atmospheres, find out how scientists are trying to control the weather. Plus, we'll take you on a journey to the land of enchantment, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Don't miss Atmospheres, hosted by meteorologists Jim Cantori and Fish Michael, Wednesdays at 8 on the Weather Channel.
Spring. The days are longer, the sun is warmer, and the world comes back to life. It's most people's favorite season until the pollen comes out. But did you know that not all pollens cause allergies? Flowering trees and plants aren't going to make you sneeze. Their pollens are carried by insects, so they're not airborne. Well, that's a relief, isn't it? But what about pine pollen? That mustard yellow stuff that covers your car and blows and drifts down the street. Well, any pollen that you can see with the naked eye is too large to cause an allergic reaction. The real bad guys are those innocent-looking fellas. Common trees like elm, maple, or oak. They don't have pretty flowers in spring. You can't see their pollen on the hood of your car. But if you're allergic, you know they're there.
This program was sponsored by Kleenex Cold Care. Share the love, not the germs.
It's a law of nature that a clean suit and a runny nose are magnetically drawn to each other. Thank goodness for Kleenex tissues. They're always there when you need them.
Traveling? Weather.com offers everything you need to know to plan your next trip. Well, almost everything.
I didn't want mail.
You don't have to sacrifice service to save money. Geico. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Thanks.
At Geico, we work 24 hours a day. Fortunately, we're equipped for the job. Geico. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Because kids will be kids. And kids need strong bones. Tropicana is created orange strawberry with calcium. 100% juice and calcium for strong bones. Orange strawberry could be the healthiest 9.3 seconds of a kid's...
Northeast and show you what we're talking about. First of all, we've got clouds and showers in and around the Washington, D.C. area a little bit earlier during the morning hours. And there is a chance for some more showers this afternoon, although it has stopped raining for the time being. And the mercury probably will be topping out in the low 80s. Rolled up toward the northeast, and you're replaced by actually the sun coming out currently in and around Washington, D.C.
Thunderstorms. Here's a tropical low in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. It continues to slowly drift off to the south and west. And this is Tropical Storm Florence. Now, the latest information we've received on Florence, winds up to 70 miles an hour, so it's a fairly strong tropical storm. The next advisory, we're perhaps anticipating this to be upgraded to a hurricane. It is stationary, so it has not moved at all over the last 12 hours or so. It is centered, if you're plotting with us, 365 miles south-southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. That puts it at latitude 30.4 degrees north, 73.1 degrees west, and there's the lowest estimated central pressure. Now, Florence, again, is a strong tropical storm right now.
Why trust your work to anything less than the best paper? With 100 years of paper-making know-how, Hammermill makes your work look better on paper tailored to your specific needs. Brochures come to life on Hammermill brochures and sales flyers paper. Information has more impact on Hammermill reports and analyses paper. On Hammermill letterhead and resumes paper, you create a better impression.
If you're as good as you look on paper, you've got the project.
Get results. Pick the right paper for every job. And hammer it home on Hammermill.
Look, as my ugly bags and wrinkles disappear instantly. Only Sudden Change Under Eye does it. No other product gives you these results instantly. Sudden Change, the instant wrinkle smoother.
When pliers won't grip, ratchets won't click, and wrenches won't fit, you just have to quit. No way! Introducing the squeeze wrench. It works in virtually any space and fits any place. Look, in this tight space, an ordinary wrench can't turn. But with the squeeze wrench, you can easily tighten with no trouble at all. A simple squeeze of the handle accelerates the squeeze wrench to tighten or loosen standard and metric nuts and bolts. Now easily tighten a ceiling fan blade, repair a barbecue grill, or install a light fixture where no other tool has gone before. If you can squeeze toothpaste, you can operate the squeeze wrench. You can even reach a bolt behind the oven without moving it. The secret is internal ratchet action that allows you to get power in impossible places, like behind a door handle or in between a crib. Watch, this handheld driver gives you limited power, but the squeeze wrench is over 3 times more powerful on the same bolt. Now adjust a rusty lawnmower, install a garage door opener, or tackle any tough automotive job for only $19.95. But it gets better. As a bonus, we'll include this compact carry case to store your squeeze wrench in the kitchen, workshop, or trunk. Yours free. The squeeze wrench comes with an incredible lifetime replacement warranty. If it ever breaks, wears, or fails, we'll replace it free for life. No questions asked. So order now.
Credit card customers call 1-800-563-3993 to order your squeeze wrench for just $19.95 and receive the bonus carry case free, or send check or money order to this address. We also accept checks by phone, so call 1-800-563-3993.
Coming up soon on the Weather Channel. Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
To meet the stringent demands of the Martians from Vector Nebula.
We have high pressure to dominate most of the tri-state region and the mid-Atlantic coast, so we don't have to worry about the rain. All of that will be shunted to our west. Afternoon highs today, well, above normal, 72 degrees at Clifton, about 72 at Midtown. Remember, a normal afternoon high is about 62 degrees, 73 at Edison, 70 this afternoon at Long Branch. Brentwood should top out at about 69 degrees, 67 at Southampton, 71 in Washington, and the same for Sussex. Now the morning lows warmer than normal, some 10 degrees or so, only cooling to 61 degrees tonight in Manhattan, about 58 at Clifton, the same for Long Branch, 59 is what we can expect at Edison. And keep in mind, once again tomorrow morning we'll have to deal with a very, very dense fog. The extended forecast now, not looking bad, partly cloudy skies as we take you through Wednesday, with afternoon highs ranging from the upper 60s to low 70s.
You're watching the Weather Channel. Weather you can always turn to for accurate, dependable weather forecasts 24 hours a day.
This morning's weather is sponsored by 100% Colombian coffee, the richest coffee in the world.
And we'll take a look at this morning's weather, and again we're going to look at some record highs from yesterday.
Good morning. Coming up on 11 after the hour, let's check out the Bowdoin Beach report. The coastal winds, well, no problems generally speaking, but not the best of days to get out there and hit the beach or over the Great Lakes, as we will find the rain showers. Even a few stronger storms are possible. Water temperatures in the 50s and 60s, but look at the 70s and a few 80s in the Gulf of Mexico. More strong storms developing over the lower Mississippi Valley. Actually, a severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for Clay County around Wichita Falls in North Texas. We'll have a regional radar out of the area in a couple of minutes. No problems with the coastal winds. The only exception near Florida, around Key West and near Miami Beach, after seeing record rainfall over the last 24 and 36 hours. More rain today. We'll take a look at it on the radar coming up shortly. Problems out west, though, as we have the system approaching the central coast of California with rain this morning around Oakland, San Francisco, even around Sacramento. Elevation snow, too. We're forecasting heavy amounts of snow
snow over the mountains of Northern California near the Shasta Range and the northern Sierras, even the southern Cascades of Oregon. Looking for heavy amounts of snow today. We'll have more details with the radar next.
Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
The outlook over the next 5 days will help you plan your business. Let's check it out. Here's the midday hour. Noticing more unsettled weather over the Mississippi Valley. We still have high pressure that's dominating the eastern seaboard, so fair weather here as we go through the next 24 to 36 hours, as this high pressure really means business. It's holding on strong and really setting the standards, holding down the fort along the mid-Atlantic and the northern Atlantic coast. But we'll still find more unsettled weather here from Detroit all the way to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, with more scattered showers and storms. We still have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Clay County. Around Wichita Falls, Texas this morning, hail has been founded with these thunderstorms as they move through. Now, as we go through the latter part of the day, we'll watch this system blowing a little farther north, returning as a warm front. So more unsettled showers and storm as we go through the day today over the Mississippi Valley. We'll talk about another system out west. Remember this time last week we were talking about the very tranquil weather pattern, but we told you that the models show a very strong system developing for the west coast this Saturday, and there you have it. We anticipate heavy mountain snow for the northern California mountains, even over the Cascades of Washington and Oregon. As today we have the upper level system just off the coast. The surface low has moved inland, but as we go through the next 24 to 36 hours, we'll watch the upper level low moving inland, and that means heavy amounts of snow for the Wasatch of Utah and even the Bitterroots of Montana as we go through the next 36 hours. Afternoon highs today still pretty warm for the eastern seaboard, 70s and 80s, but the cooler air over the northern Rockies and for the interior regions of Washington, Oregon, and northern California. Morning lows, of course, coldest out west, only cooling to some 60 degrees over the mid and lower Mississippi Valley. Now, as we go through tomorrow, still pretty warm over the east with the cool temperatures here. Monday, the cooler air tries to push a little farther east, but still pretty warm over a good part of the Ohio Valley and the lower Mississippi valleys. Now, as we go through the next 5 days or so, we'll watch a few systems developing out west and then moving to the Mississippi Valley. But again, the eastern seaboard remains pretty dry, so we'll find subtle changes in the temperature regime. Still cool here, but the 70s and 80s still encompasses most of the east. Okay, tomorrow more strong storms are possible as the cold front moves to the east. And then Monday, it all moves east with scattered showers and storms over the Mississippi Valley, but notice the eastern seaboard remains dry. We'll watch another system developing out west with more rain, high elevation snow. That system moves to the Mississippi Valley, but it doesn't make much headway to the eastern seaboard. So kind of a just same pattern as we go through the next 5 days. We'll keep you posted, of course. Your local conditions now.
A day.
And a good Saturday morning to you. 30 after the hour. Let's check on the current weather scene. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. The satellite picture first shows us the system over the Mississippi Valley with scattered light rain showers from Detroit all the way to Indianapolis this early Saturday morning. Really waking up to nature's alarm clock, though, with thunderstorms and some containing hail over North Texas through Oklahoma. We'll show you regional radar out of the area in a couple of minutes. Notice the fair weather for the eastern seaboard, but we have a lot of dense fog that has developed along the coast of Maine through Massachusetts all the way to West Virginia, with visibility still less than 1/2 of a mile, so allow a little extra driving time this morning if you're heading out early for the immediate northeastern seaboard. Out west, we have yet another system. Now, this is the big one, the real McCoy. We anticipate the rain showers, even a few thunderstorms are possible along the coast of Oregon today as the cold air aloft with a warmer area at the surface really makes for unsettled conditions and unstable weather pattern. We'll watch it very closely for you. Heavy amounts of snow in the forecast for the northern mountains of California, around the Shasta Range, and even the Sierras. As much as a foot possible as we go through the next 24 to 36 hours. You can't really see the clouds here, but they are cold air cumulus. That means the very, very cold air associated with an upper level system that is off the coast this morning. Now we have a surface low that is centered in southern Idaho. We'll watch those two systems come together come tomorrow afternoon with heavy amounts of snow for the Wasatch of Utah and the Bitterroots of Montana and Idaho. Tell you what, we'll overlay the national satellite picture with the national radar, and as you would guess, here's where we have the widespread rain and thunderstorms, and there you see the rain and mountain snow from central California all the way to Oregon. Now we have the light rain this morning around Sacramento, San Francisco, even Oakland, where we've had the devastating fires over the last week or so. Not any very heavy rain, but the light rain, anything will make way for better conditions, as it has been so very dry in California. Guess what? We just may find additional rain showers come tomorrow in Southern California as the cold front moves through. Mississippi Valley, though, stretching from Detroit, and there you see the heavier thunderstorms crossing over the Red River of Texas and Oklahoma. We'll take you on a quick radar tour, as behind the front we have some heavy rain and thunderstorms around Waterloo, Iowa, and Cedar Rapids. This is all moving east to northeast. We'll take you a little farther east into, well, around Toledo, Ohio, even Findlay, Detroit, reporting some light rain, Jackson, Michigan, stretching through Fort Wayne, Indiana, Muncie, Indianapolis, all reporting the light rain this morning, and it extends into the central portions of the state, even as far west as around Mount Vernon, Illinois, through Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and there you see light rain showers around Springfield, Missouri. But a little farther south than that, we find the heavier rain and the thunderstorms. Now, we've had reports of hail with these thunderstorms moving through northern Texas around Wichita Falls. This is Wichita Falls here. We just had a severe thunderstorm warning that is no longer in effect, but hail for Clay County as they continue to move off to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. Look at this pretty solid line of thunderstorms just east of Dallas and Fort Worth, headed for Texarkana, Texas, and Arkansas. So we'll definitely keep you posted as we go through the next hour or so as these thunderstorms move east. Now we have a big ridge of high pressure that's really holding down the fort for the mid-Atlantic and the eastern seaboard. So fortunately, we will not see these showers and thunderstorms moving to the east. We will just have to deal with the very foggy conditions this morning, and the fog by this afternoon will give way to hazy skies. We don't find any rain right now in Miami, but we've seen over 21 inches so far this month, and that makes for record rainfall in Miami, and there's a chance of more as we go through the day today, where locally 2 inches are possible. I'll tell you what, we'll show you the frontal boundary over the east, and there you see it draping from the Mississippi Valley all the way to the Red River of Texas and Oklahoma. Keep in mind the very, very dense fog along the northeast and the mid-Atlantic coast, and these two systems causing trouble for the Pacific Northwest. Again, with heavy amounts of snow, we'll watch the upper level disturbance moving in and converging with the surface low, so very, very heavy amounts of snow for the Bitterroots of Montana and Idaho, all the way to the Wasatch of Utah, and there you see the cold front slicing through Southern California. So later this evening into tomorrow morning, there's a chance of rain around LA and even San Diego. The system over the east, well, we'll watch it bow a little farther north in the form of a warm front, but there's still a chance of scattered showers and storms as we go through the next 36 hours. Locally heavy amounts of rain, and there you see the heavy amounts of snow out west, with afternoon highs coldest out west, but warmest over the east, 70s and 80s, and morning lows shaping up like this. Let's check on the rest of your weekend. This Weekend Outlook is sponsored by True Value. Got a tough job to do? You can do it with True Value hardware stores. The jet stream shows a trough of low pressure here, big ridge of high pressure over the east now. That's why we'll watch the eastern seaboard pretty much quiet as we go through the next 5 days. Afternoon highs highs today, once again, shaping up like this. And we won't find much changes as we go through Monday afternoon. Still warm over the east and cool out west, as the system today brings the scattered showers and storms over the Mississippi Valley, rain and mountain snow for the west. That all moves to the intermountain region of the Rockies, actually, from the Wasatch of Utah, and there's the snow in the Rockies of Colorado and Wyoming on into Montana, and more strong storms tomorrow and Monday for the Mississippi Valley. That's a look ahead. Stay with us. Your weekend travel forecast is next. But since we have you here, let's check on the current weather scene. The national radar shows showers and storms over the Mississippi Valley. Heavier storms over the Red River of Texas and Oklahoma. Just east of Dallas-Fort Worth, we have thunderstorms. Now, these thunderstorms have a record of carrying hail with them, so very dangerous situation here. We have the rain and the mountain snow from the central portions of California all the way to northern Oregon, around Pendleton and North Bend. We have some light rain, and notice the showers off the coast of Florida, but we may watch some of these move a little farther north with locally heavier amounts of rain today in southern Florida, and we've already seen record rainfall in Miami, over 21 inches so far this month. Along the front is where we anticipate the heaviest amounts of rain and storms, of course, as it moves slowly east. Actually, it's a stationary front, so it will pretty much remain stationary, not moving much at all, as high pressure really controls the eastern seaboard, with very dense fog this morning from the coast of Maine all the way to Virginia, where visibilities have been reduced to less than 1/2 of a mile, and in many cases visibility is less than 1/4 of a mile. So you want to allow a little extra driving time and take it easy. Keep those light beams undimmed if you encounter the fog and you're heading out early this morning. Here's the real McCoy, though, an upper level low pressure system off the coast. As that upper level low moves east and conspires with this surface low, we'll find heavy amounts of snow over the mountains of Montana and Idaho, around the Bitterroots and even the Wasatch of Utah, the Sierras of California, over a foot we're talking, and the possibility of rain showers too later this evening in places we really need it, like southern and central California, around LA and San Diego. We may find some light rain showers there, as this morning Sacramento, Oakland, and San Francisco all reporting light rain. On the heels of southerly winds, as the high pressure moves off the coast of the mid-Atlantic, more scattered showers and storms. The warm front bows a little farther north, but we'll continue to watch the Mississippi Valley as we go through the next 24, 36, 48 hours. Of course, heaviest amounts of rain here, where locally 2 inches are possible, much of the same in some localized areas over southern Florida. Some of this is rain, but it's also liquid equivalent to snow, and that translates to over a foot in the Sierras here, and there you see nearly a foot from the Wasatch of Utah all the way to the Bitterroots of Montana and Idaho. Coldest out west for afternoon highs today, and of course that's where we'll find the coldest morning lows. Stay with us. We'll check the traveling conditions for this morning and show you the very dense fog for the northeastern seaboard.
Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
And heavy thunderstorms, actually a line extending just north of Longview, Texas, through Fort Smith, Arkansas. This is all moving to the northeast at about 25 miles per hour, and we've had reports of hail with these thunderstorms as they move through Wichita Falls, Texas, only an hour ago. Again, all of this is associated with the stationary front that lingers over the Mississippi Valley, and there you see the next system that promises to bring very, very heavy snow in the mountains. Watch out for the fog. Visibility's down to 0 around Iceland, Long Island this morning. Allow a little extra driving time if you're getting an early start along the northeastern seaboard, as the fog will burn off by the midday hour and give way to hazy skies for most of the northeast. But keep in mind, the umbrellas will be a necessity today from Louisiana all the way to the central Great Lakes, even around the forecast. Over a foot for the Sierras and the Bitterroots, and even throughout the Wasatch. Afternoon highs today shaping up like this. Coldest out west, of course, to support the snow, with morning lows in the teens and 20s. Let's check on the rest of your weekend. This weekend outlook is sponsored by Pearl Vision Centers and Pearl Express. Have you got your pearls on. Here's the jet stream, and there you see the big trough with that system we just saw out west. High pressure still dominating most of the east, and that will be the case tomorrow. And no big changes as we take you through Monday. Let's get the specifics. Here's a look at the afternoon highs today. Once again, no major changes tomorrow. Still pretty warm over the east with the cool temperatures over the northern Rockies. Storm system today bringing scattered showers and storms, and again the fog this morning, rain and high elevation snow for the west, and that snow can be heavy at times, especially for the northern and central Rockies. That system advances east Monday, so once again we'll be inundated with the showers and storms over the Mississippi Valley, and then yet another system will venture into the picture of the Pacific Northwest, but the eastern seaboard remains dry. That's a look ahead through the rest of your weekend. Stay with us. 18 big cities and their forecasts for today coming up next. Sponsored by Mobilecom. Stay with us. We'll check your local conditions and the forecast for the whole nation coming up next.
The Weather Channel for accurate forecasts at your convenience. Weather you can always turn to. Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
And happy morning's weather. The national radar, we've had reports of hail with these thunderstorms as they moved through Wichita Falls, Texas, which is right about here. We'll keep you posted as those thunderstorms are really firing up over northwest Arkansas and the northeastern portions of Texas as we speak. We're hearing the thunder around Key West, Florida. You know what? Miami has received over 21 inches so far this month with record rainfall there. There's a chance of more rain today as these showers are expected to bow a little farther north. Marysville, California, and Sacramento reporting light rain. We have the light rain extending all the way to North Bend and Pendleton, Oregon, and of course the snow in the higher elevations. And before all said and done, I'm talking heavy, heavy snow, as much as a foot, 2 feet possible, as this surface low and an upper level low pressure system conspire as they move to the northern Rockies over the Bitterroots of Montana and Idaho, the Wasatch of Utah, even the Sierras of Central California. Heavy amounts of snow. Now, as the cold front moves through Southern California later this afternoon or later this evening, there's a chance of rain in LA and San Diego. Early tomorrow morning, more scattered showers over the Mississippi Valley, and some can be locally heavy before we get through the next 24 hours. And there you see the locally heavy amounts of rain in southern Florida. This is rain along the coast and in the lower elevations, but of course in the higher elevations we're talking about liquid equivalent to snow, and that translates to some heavy amounts. Here you see the darker purple. 6 to 12 inches are possible, over a foot for the Sierras of Central California. Here's a look at the afternoon highs today. Pick out your favorite city and morning lows.
You buy Michelin and your participating Michelin dealers.
Guess where the fog?
People come up with to talk you out of a Michelin tire. It's just as good as a Michelin. It lasts as long as a Michelin. You'll trust it like a Michelin. Well, they can try anything they want. Because once you've owned a Michelin tire, there's nothing anyone can do to talk you out of one.
Find Michelin tires at this dealer near you, because so much is riding on your tires.
Three minutes before 9 Eastern Daylight Time. Actually, tomorrow will be Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to put your clocks back tonight. You get an extra hour of sleep. Let's take a look at the normal highs and lows for this 26th day of October. About 62 and 47 respectively. We had records, though, back in 1964, a record high of 78 degrees, and in 1879, a record low of 30. Now, we've seen no precipitation so far. No rain, that is, but we're really been enveloped with The fog this morning has not burned off yet. Cloudy skies at Central Park, and the pressure is rising from 30.33 inches. Winds out of the west at only 5 miles per hour, so we'll have to wait for that fog to burn off naturally as we have the calm winds. We don't have the winds to help sweep up the fog. 97% relative humidity, and the current temperature, it's 57 degrees at Central Park, and it's 57 at Newburgh, 57 at Teterboro and Newark, New Jersey. Pretty popular number this hour, huh? 56 at the John F. Kennedy Airport with the dense fog. Trenton, New Jersey, visibility's near zero with a current temperature of 54 degrees. About 56 at Islip, Long Island, visibility near zero here. 59 at Bridgeport, Connecticut, and the current temperature at New Haven, Connecticut is 60 degrees. Now, the satellite picture does not pick up the fog, but I'll tell you, fog from the coast of Maine all the way to the central portions of New York and over most of the tri-state region. So if you're planning on heading out, getting an early start this morning, please allow a little extra driving time. Keep those light beams on dim. Those light beams on dim. That will reduce the glare and improve your visibilities. Now, by mid-morning or mid this afternoon, that fog will burn off and give way to hazy skies with afternoon highs, well, above normal, that's for sure. Remember, a normal afternoon high this date is about 62 degrees. We're talking about 10 degrees above normal at Manhattan. The same for Clifton, about 69 this afternoon at Brentwood, topping out at 68, we think, at Stanford, about 67 at Southampton, 73 for Edison. Washington, an afternoon high today of 71 degrees. The same for Sussex with a morning low of 54. About 55 tomorrow morning in Washington, 59 at Edison, 58 at Long Branch tomorrow when you wake up, and waking up to about 61 degrees with dense fog tomorrow at Manhattan. The fog will be just as dense tomorrow morning as what we saw today, so be prepared. You might want to allow a little extra driving time as you head out to church tomorrow. The extended forecast looking good. Partly cloudy skies.
Photos. To order, call 1-800-845-8711.
Hi, that's me, Carrie Palmer, and my wife Gretchen. Enjoying some great skiing in the Rockies last winter. As a former Olympic skier, I can tell you that the best way to get the most out of this year's skiing is to get in shape now, before you hit the slopes. That's why Gretchen and I get ready for the ski season with a complete exercise routine.
We want to build strength, flexibility, and aerobic endurance.
Build strength in your legs with leg presses, hamstring curls, and for the upper body strength, you can't beat the bench press.
But if you don't have a gym, you can do deep knee bends at home to really help strengthen your legs. Try the wall sit for your lower back and thighs. Pull-ups and push-ups are great for the upper body.
Cycling is one of the best ways for skiers to build aerobic endurance.
And it's fun, too.
So get into an exercise routine 3 or 4 times a week, and when the snow does come, you'll be ready to ski your best.
Beautiful. Thank you. Your Plymouth Laser RS Turbo. You can talk. That's not all. 0 to 66.3. You like all-wheel drive? Well, beautiful. Don't try this at home.
Plymouth Laser, an intelligent machine. Can we go for a spin?
Sure.
Your local Chrysler Plymouth dealers, proud sponsors of the U.S. Men's and Women's Pro Ski Tour.
Facing the world with a cold sore can be very embarrassing, so I don't put up with it any longer than I have to. I use Campho-Phenique cold sore gel. It stops the pain and helps prevent infection that can delay healing. With Campho-Phenique, I can face the world.
And this Weather in Your House, Weather in Your Health is sponsored by Campho-Phenique Cold Sore Gel. Helps you face the world without a cold sore. No problems with air stagnation on this Saturday, but if you ordinarily have problems breathing like asthma or emphysema, you'll find those problems a little bit more flared today in the states shaded in orange, a good part of the Pacific Northwest, the upper Mississippi Valley, and along the mid-Atlantic and the northeastern seaboard. And wouldn't you know it, the pain indices above normal in many of the same general areas out west and over the Mississippi Valley. So if you are a sufferer of arthritis or rheumatism, be very careful here. That's a look at the weather and how it can affect the way you feel. The 5-day outlook comes your way shortly.
Thunderstorms continue to pound the Oklahoma area and the Mississippi. The national report that covers the forecast over the next 5 days. Watch a 5-day business planner coming up soon on the Weather Channel. Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
Good morning. It's about 16 minutes after the hour. Checking the radars for you across the country. Starting with the satellite picture out west where we have yet another system that's getting ready to come on shore. We can see the white puffy clouds here. Those are cold air cumulus clouds. Lets us know how unstable the atmosphere is right off the coast here. And as this system plows into the Pacific Northwest, we'll find more wet weather in the form of rain and even some heavy snow in the mountains from California to the Cascades of Washington and Oregon. We have cold air trapped in the valleys of Oregon, so as this system comes on shore and brings moisture with it, some of the precipitation will fall in the form of perhaps freezing rain and sleet over the Willamette Valley in Oregon. So advisories have been issued for that region. Please be very careful and be prepared as this next storm gets wound up off the Pacific Northwest coast. Now, we have seen two systems over the last 48 hours or so that has brought quite a bit of weather across the lower 48. Now, the first one brought quite a bit of snow over the northeast, but this one, believe it or not, is the same one that brought the heavy snow in Southern California and Arizona, where in parts of Arizona we had reports of some 2 feet of snow. Well, I'll tell you what, that system has moved into the nation's midsection and significantly has weakened over the last 12 hours or so. However, we do still have the widespread light snow from Nebraska into Iowa and Illinois, and then points south. We're talking about some freezing rain over northern Mississippi. Advisories have been issued for the region. Tupelo reporting the freezing rain this morning. Of course, all of this is snow, and this is Nebraska. From Grand Island to Norfolk and even around Omaha, we have some light snow. Sioux Falls, South Dakota reporting the snow as well, and snow extending into Illinois from Quincy to Springfield and down south into the western parts of the bluegrass state of Kentucky, near Jackson, and even Memphis, Tennessee reporting some freezing rain this morning. Freezing rain and drizzle around Tupelo and Columbus, Mississippi. Be getting an early start over the northern parts of the Magnolia State this morning. Please be very careful.
Imagine something so big that it covers 1/4 Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on the Weather Channel.
Well, the snow is gone, but we still have very windy and cold conditions through the weekend, and it looks like it might be a little bit better by the time we hit Monday, so hang in there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Almanac page showing us our normal high this time of year is 45 degrees. Yesterday, not that much below at 39. The thing is, the winds were kicking up all day long, so that made it feel much colder than it actually was. And again, today it's going to be windy, blustery, cold day. No precipitation since midnight, but we did have some snow yesterday and some rain. Not much to speak of. A few sprinkles here and there, a few flurries. That's about it. Record high was set back in 1982 of 68 degrees. That might sound good at this point. Record low was back in 1926 of an even 13 degrees. And actually, it feels colder than that right now with the wind chill. It feels like about 2 degrees out there, while it is actually 27 in Central Park. Winds are out of the northwest at 10 miles per hour, at times gusting to 15, even 20 miles per hour. By this afternoon, winds will die down, so if you're out and about first thing this morning, sun will be shining, but it is going to be very cold out there. At the moment, 22 in Newburgh, 28 in Fountain Island and Islip, JFK 29. They had some snow yesterday, so did Newark, 28 at the moment. Clear skies in Teterboro, 30 degrees, and White Plains, 25. Let's take a look at the satellite picture and roll this into motion. You can see the thickest clouds are gone. Our storm system long gone, moved off to the north and east, but we still have pretty cold winds over the Great Lakes coming out of the northwest. So a few snow flurries around Syracuse and down towards Du Bois and Bradford in Pennsylvania, but even that should be tapering off later in the day. Now, there is another storm system off to our west. Sitting right here, you can see a little curl of clouds, this area of low pressure. It's working eastward, and that'll spread the snows across the Great Lakes and into the northeast tonight and tomorrow. Now, we may get a couple more snow flurries out of this one, but once again, it looks like most of the clouds and most of the snow is going to stay off to our north. All right, let's go back to the surface map and we'll show you what we have. High pressure building in. This is nothing but good news because sunshine is what we're going to have today, and as it gets a little closer in over the area, the winds will die down. So again, it'll look a little better around here by this afternoon. And let's go ahead and take a look at the map for tomorrow. Here it is. That front coming down out of Canada, this will just reinforce the cold air. And here's the snow on the map. Pretty light snow, maybe a couple of inches here and there, and most of it is going to be well off to our north. But don't be surprised to see a couple of snow flurries, perhaps as you're heading to work on Monday morning. Here's the forecast for this afternoon. Sunshine, temperatures right up around the 40-degree mark. Much like a few snow flurries, nice on Tuesday and Wednesday, and the chance of rain or snow.
The enemy wind, how the storm is forecast, and the tale of one tornado town. Plus, at no extra charge, the Weather Channel 1993 tornado calendar. 13 dramatic photos and dozens of amazing tornado tales. Call 1-800-525-6600 now, and you can own the enemy wind and the 1993 tornado calendar, all for just $19.95. Call 1-800-525-6600 now and charge by phone or send check or money order to the address on the screen. Call now.
If you're about to travel, watch the 5-Day Business Planner here on the Weather Channel at 20 minutes after every hour. You get a comprehensive national report that covers the forecast over the next 5 days. Watch the 5-Day Business Planner coming up soon on the Weather Channel. Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
Well, time to check on a couple of radars, and it does look a little quieter out there today than it was yesterday, but we do have some snow to speak of. This is our big storm system that was in the southwest and produced as much as 2 feet of snow there. This is just about all snow, but you don't have to worry about getting 2 feet. 2 to 4 inches should just about do it. Across Nebraska, already Lincoln has a couple of inches of snow on the ground. Snowing in Des Moines, headed northward. Looks like Chicago should see some snow. Milwaukee, same thing. Hang on a few more hours, and looks like it's going to be spreading north and eastward. Whole system working eastward, though, with a front coming south out of Canada. That should help to skirt it off to the east. And this may bring light snow back into New England by late this evening or tomorrow. So we'll be watching for some light snow. No big problems today. Taking a little bit closer, and as I mentioned, around Norfolk, it's around Sioux Falls and Sioux City, Iowa, some light snow around Lincoln, some accumulating snow already, 3 or 4 inches around Grand Island. Heading southward, though, getting into a little bit warmer air, then we find some freezing rain if you get down as far as Memphis and Tupelo in Mississippi.
Imagine something so big that it covers 1/4 of the earth. All you catch are mice. Easy to set, easy disposal.
New Decon Ultra Set at last, a better mousetrap.
When it comes to convenience, new recipes all-purpose baking mix beats the old stuff by a landslide. New from Martha White.
Look for recipes, the new variety baking mix in a resealable canister at your favorite supermarket.
Well, it's starting to look like a lot of folks across the country are going to get a white Christmas, at least if things hold up the way they have been the past several days. Since Thursday evening, we've had as much as a foot of snow in the snowbelt areas here across the Great Lakes. Northeastern parts of Ohio in the past 24 hours got nearly 9 inches of snow on the ground, and a little bit more today. And in the southwest, as much as 2 feet of snow, especially along the Mogollon Rim in Arizona. They probably got the most of it. New Mexico did pretty well, down to Ski Apache, 17 inches of new snow in the past 24 hours. And a ski resort that's pretty far to the south, so they did pretty well on this one. And it looks like today out in the plains we'll be picking up lighter snow. Since about midnight or so, Grand Island 4 inches, Wichita, Kansas 3 inches, and Des Moines 1 inch of snow. More on the way. It is snowing right now in Des Moines, but that storm system from the southwest has moved up here. It'll follow this path, dropping 1 to 3 inches of snow. Not that big of a deal, but another one coming into the west, and about a foot of snow expected. So if you're traveling in any of these spots today, expect some snowy roads.
The Weather Channel staff is here when you need weather information.
It's not going to seem windy at all.
24 hours a day.
It's time now for Waking Up Weather, which is sponsored by Mountain Grown Folgers Coffee. Folgers, the best part of waking up. Well, we'll start our weather coverage in the Northeast, where they had such a nasty Saturday. Things are looking a little bit better at this point. Our snowstorm is well off the horizon here, but as you can see, the isobars are still very close together, and what that means is it's going to be very windy, at least the first part of the day. And then high pressure will scoot in over the region, and the winds will die down. So looking a little bit better by this afternoon, but in the meantime, we have wind chills that look like this. 9 below in Boston, feels like 9 above in New York City, 2 below in Albany, and of course much of the area through here did see some snow yesterday, some accumulations of 4, 5, 6 inches, so I'm sure some of that snow is still blowing around. So if you're out driving around, especially the first part of the day, there could still be some snow on the roadways, even though the snow has ended. It's going to be tough to keep it off the roadways with all of the strong winds today. Further to the south, well, Florida has cooled down. The front slid through. Yesterday, the warm spot in the nation was Coral Springs at 84 degrees. Chances are most of Florida is going to stay in the 70s today. A little bit cooler, but still very nice compared to what just about everyone else in the nation is expecting. Take a look at this. A little bit of orange on the map. That means freezing rain, and we have had some reports of some freezing rain northern Alabama and into Mississippi, up around Memphis. So careful out there. It is kind of spotty and light on and off, but that can definitely cause some slick spots on the roadways. Rain to the south of that back into Texas, and of course snow to the north. Lighter snow now. This is the same storm system that brought as much as 2 feet of snow in the southwest and Arizona in the past 24 to 48 hours. It has weakened considerably, so it won't cause nearly the problems here, but still some light accumulations from Nebraska to Kansas over towards Missouri and working through Iowa at this point. Chicago should see some snow later in the day, Detroit, and then this system's going to move pretty quickly into the northeast. Here are some of the latest snowfall totals. Not as impressive as maybe what we saw yesterday, but still whitening the ground out around Grand Island with 4 inches and Scottsbluff, Wichita 3 inches, and Des Moines so far 1 inch, but it is still snowing there. Taking a look at the west coast where things have quieted down today. After all the snow we've had lately, this may be a good time to get out and enjoy it. As far south as Apache, Ski Apache in New Mexico, they got 17 inches of new snow yesterday. So great skiing conditions, high pressure and probably some sunshine out here today. So it looks pretty good, and actually temperatures are not as cold as they have been. And here comes the next system. You can see it holding off just at the edge of the map there, about to come in. Already some rain in central California. Some big snows expected to the Sierra Nevada range in the next 24 hours, maybe as much as a foot of snow. So this should keep the skiers out west happy, and also just about everyone else, as they need the rain, they need the snow, and this will help the drought situation somewhat. Here are your temperatures across the nation. Chilly out there with 6 degrees above zero in Bismarck. Now, it's not nearly as cold as it has been. We did have temperatures as cold as 32 below yesterday in West Yellowstone, and it looks like we're actually pulling out of a deep freeze here. But still, temperatures as cold as 31 as far south as Atlanta. Nation's capital, 27. Boston, 22. Remember, we already showed you the wind chill there is 9 below. So while temperatures maybe not that bad, it is definitely on the chilly side out there. Let's take a look at a couple of radars. And I want to show you first off our trouble spot around Memphis. As I mentioned, some freezing rain. Looks like the majority of that has already moved off to the east. Same thing in Jackson during the past hour. Some freezing rain in Tupelo. On and off freezing rain in Huntsville. So just about anywhere through this region, you're sort of right on the edge with temperatures hovering right about at the freezing point. Could be rain, freezing rain, and eventually snow as you get northward. They have been reporting some slick spots up around Paducah in Kentucky. Heading northward, though, it is all snow, pretty light snow at this point, anywhere from Des Moines across Peoria, and the snow back into Nebraska. We already have 2, 3, 4 inches of snow on the ground. Look at the national satellite picture. Shows you the storm system. You can see a little swirl of clouds right about here. It was a big storm in the southwest, but it's moving into a drier air mass, so it's weakening pretty nicely here. It'll just spread light snow across the Great Lakes and into the northeast tonight. Then we take you westward to find our next storm system for what's coming, what's upstream. You can see bands of clouds here, weak systems, one after another coming in through California. Already some light rain with this band that is coming right here. Here is the mother low, the big storm system that's going to push all of this in and bring as much as a foot of snow to the Sierra Nevada range. That storm will be digging southward. Looks like more rain for southern California, maybe more snow into Arizona and New Mexico. Let's take a look. Day by day, this is what we're looking at. Midday on Sunday, the front comes ashore. Heavy snows through the Sierra Nevada. More rain coming down into southern California later this afternoon. And our storm system coming in across the western lakes. Not a big deal, but again, some light snow to the north, maybe a little bit of freezing rain in there, mainly just the first part of the day, and a few sprinkles to the south. Not really a big problem there. On Monday, this front sliding southward, and that will help to reinforce the cold air. It is going to stay pretty chilly for the next few days. Of course, all of this precipitation will be in the form of snow, but out west, some of it rain, some of it snow, and it looks like the rain could amount to as much as an inch, snow as much as a foot, and we do have already advisories out for the Tehachapi's winter storm advisories with as much as 3 inches expected. Very cold again at night, not as cold as what we have had. It's starting to modify somewhat out there. We do see the 60s coming back across the Gulf Coast, 70s and 80s on Monday in Florida, so warming up a little bit from the cool down over this weekend. In the Rockies, we have had mornings and afternoons with temperatures in the 20s, and it looks like it's going to be a little better now with 30s expected. And actually, as we hit Thursday, pretty nice warm up across Texas. They'll see 60s and 70s. Looks like the snow in Oklahoma City and Amarillo will be gone as temperatures get well above the freezing point. Okay, here we are on Monday, a little light snow to the north, a few sprinkles to the south, not a big deal, but the next storm system coming into the west, that one moves into the Rockies, another one behind it. Looks like it's going to be a busy week, coast to coast.
Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
freezing rain. Tonight, right on up through New England to Illinois, a little bit of the snow coming down, but in the west, that's where we're looking at snow. Over to California, could be locally very heavy. Wind chills staying fairly cold, especially to the north. Now here's Jill with today's forecast.
Okay, thanks, Rich. And we'll take a look at where that freezing rain is going. We've already had reports of freezing rain in Memphis a little earlier. I believe the precipitation has now moved out of Memphis on towards Huntsville. And as Rich mentioned, in some of the suburbs around Atlanta, a little bit of freezing rain this morning. It's pretty light and it's spotty, but that could still cause a few problems on the roadway. So just be very careful through here, especially first part of the day. It's probably going to look a little better as we hit midday. Snow to the north and rain to the south. All of it's pretty light. This system working on pretty quickly to the east. So it looks like Milwaukee over towards Detroit. Cleveland could see a little bit more light snow today. And here comes the next big system coming into the west with a lot of rain and as much as a foot of snow on the way for the Sierra Nevada range in the next 24 hours. There it is, as much as an inch of rain through California and that very dry area. Could definitely use it. More heavy snow, light snow from the Great Lakes to the northeast, and temperatures still a little on the cool side today and very cold once again overnight tonight all the way to the Gulf Coast.
Why is Shoney's pot roast so tender and juicy? We slow cook it.
What would Stack 44 go in?
Stack 44 won't go in either. It says 9 too.
And the quant tells you.
Up soon on the Weather Channel. Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
Hurricane Donna slashes up from the Caribbean into Florida. In its wake, the hurricane leaves at least 10 dead in Florida. With storm signals up along the entire seaboard, Donna batters the Carolinas, then regains speed in an overwater passage and rips into the Jersey shore with winds topping 85 miles an hour. 10-foot storm tides overwhelm seawalls. Piers and boardwalks at Asbury Park, Atlantic City, and other famed resorts are torn away. Donna keeps adding to her catastrophic damage account. Still moving north on predicted course, the killer storm reaches New York. Staten Island bears the first brunt. And still, Donna rages on, slamming into New England with unabated force, recalling the great hurricane of 1938 and its tragic cost.
Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
With Shoney's home-style dinners, you get vegetables that taste so fresh. Ow! It's just like hanging out on the farm. Ow! I always knew I had great taste. Ow! Stop! Oh.
Shoney's Breakfast Bar, the best breakfast in town.
Occasionally gusting to 15 or 20 miles per hour, so it's still very chilly, blustery out there. But we do have clear skies, so sunshine across the region as the sun is rising. 28 degrees at Islip and West Hampton, 24 in New Haven, 26 Bridgeport, Connecticut, a chilly 22 in Newburgh, 28 in Newark. Sunshine should help somewhat, but we continue to have strong northwesterly winds. Let's take a look at the satellite picture and you can see our storm system pretty much long gone at this point. The snow ended pretty quickly overnight. Skies cleared out, but still with winds coming over the Great Lakes. We have a few snow flurries around Syracuse, Utica, Binghamton, New York, reporting some snow, and down towards Bradford and Du Bois. Some on and off snow showers this morning. That should cut off later this afternoon as high pressure builds in, but then we also stand the chance of seeing more wet weather, at least in upstate New York, in the form of snow. Here's our next system coming along. It has weakened considerably, but it's spreading snow across the Great Lakes today. By tonight, possibly, or into Monday morning, there could be some snow upstate New York and Pennsylvania, northern New England. It may just avoid the New York City area, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of flurries around here and there. Here's the surface map. As you can see, here's where the snow is. A few flurries here and there, but as high pressure builds in and the winds are not over the water a little later in the day, we will not have the lake effect snows. The winds here should calm down and should be fairly nice out by this afternoon. Forecast map then for tomorrow. Here's that area of snow spreading on there, and the system has just about dissipated at this point. Cold front coming down out of Canada. That will help to reinforce the cold air that's already in place. Looks like some chilly days ahead. Let's take a look. This afternoon, we're expecting breezy conditions. Temperatures in the upper 30s to low 40s. 39 in Manhattan, about the same as yesterday actually. 37 Stamford. And West Point, a mere 36 degrees expected today. Dropping into the 20s to low 30s overnight tonight. With some clouds coming in, it will not get as cold as it did last night. So tomorrow morning, not too bad out there actually, but we're going to stick with clouds most of your Monday. A couple of flurries around, that's a definite possibility. Sunshine for Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday brings us the chance of rain or snow again with a major system working its way across the country. We'll see that coming up next with our national forecast and extended forecast.
You're watching the Weather Channel. Weather you can always turn to for accurate, dependable weather forecasts 24 hours a day.
This morning's weather is sponsored by 100% Colombian coffee, the richest coffee in the world.
Good morning, Rich Johnson here at Jill Brown and Eric Hines, our director from Chicago, Illinois. Where
occasionally up soon on the Weather Channel. Now, your local forecast, accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel.
What fancy gizmo do meteorologists use to measure the depth of snow? Well, I'd rule out any device with buttons, dials, or printouts.
Now, the tool the Weather Service uses to measure snow depth is rather quite simple. Only problem is, you've got to use it the right way.
Now, the proper way to check snow depth is to take readings from 3 different yardsticks or snow sticks in an undisturbed location.
We go out into the woods because that's the most untouched by man. There's no roads nearby. There's no people walking through it and disturbing it. You get the most pristine atmosphere for checking the snow depth.
After reading each stick, add the numbers and divide by 3 to get the average snow depth. Simple math, really, but the hardest part for some is trying not to trip over their snowshoes.
In Duluth, Minnesota, I'm Colin Ventrella for the Weather Channel.
The wind chill report is sponsored by the United States Virgin Islands, the American Paradise. And that does sound like paradise. Certainly when the temperatures start getting this cold. It is 7 degrees this morning in Bismarck, North Dakota, 22 degrees in Chicago, 20 in Detroit. You can expect a little snow later in the day. And as cold as 29 down towards Nashville, right at the freezing point in Atlanta, and a few spots anywhere from Memphis to Huntsville to Atlanta and up to Paducah in Kentucky. A little bit of freezing rain in there, some slick spots on the roadways, and already early this morning we've had some reports of accidents. So we'll be watching that area pretty closely, but just about everybody's in the deep freeze at least for the first part of the day. And if you think this looks bad, take a look at the wind chills. Factor in some gusty winds in the northeast, and it feels like 6 below in Boston, 1 degree even at JFK Airport and outside of New York City, 1 degree below 0 in Green Bay, and 0 in Chicago. So it's definitely a cold morning. As you head towards Monday, at least the winds in the northeast will die down, so this doesn't look too bad compared to today. Wind chills of 0 to 20 above, but 0 to 20 below in the northern plains.
The Weather Channel staff is here when you need weather information, no matter what time of day or night, any hour, every day. Check with the Weather Channel.
Windy compared to yesterday with winds gusting 35, 50 miles per hour. What's 10, 15 miles per hour? No big deal. 40 degrees should be the high right around town, but north of town it will stay in the mid-30s. So a couple cool days coming up tomorrow morning. Not cold at all, actually, 34 degrees. So as you're heading into work, there could be a couple of flurries around. North of town, it'll be below freezing. Temperatures should actually warm up a little bit. So with the flurries, there could be 1 or 2 spits of rain by later in the afternoon. Don't look for anything that heavy, though. Temperature should cool down a little bit behind that trough of low pressure for midweek, Tuesday and Wednesday. Then Thursday, this is going to be an interesting forecast. You're going to want to keep it tuned to the Weather Channel during the week because there's a possibility of SNOW.
This is the Weather Channel. Weather you can always turn to for accurate weather forecasts at your convenience 24 hours a day.
Waking Up Weather is sponsored by Mountain Grown Folgers Coffee. Folgers, the best part of waking up. And probably one of the best parts of waking up in the Northeast is that you do not have to head out to work or school today. It's still very blustery, very cold out there. Wind chills below zero in some locations, and just a little bit of leftover snow that should be ending maybe by about midday or soon thereafter. This is still lake effect snow over towards Syracuse, Bradford down towards Du Bois, and it's really just flurries at this point. This area of high pressure is building in. The winds will die down. We are going to have just about full sunshine today, and most of the snow, as I mentioned, should be dying out pretty quickly today. Here are those wind chills. 16 below is what it feels like in Bangor, 24 below in Caribou, 1 degree above in New York City sounds good by comparison, and 20 in Washington, D.C., 2 degrees below in Pittsburgh. Definitely cold through here. Still blustery this morning. Again, it should be a little bit better by this afternoon with the sun shining and the winds calming down. Down south, we have different problems. The orange on our map here indicates where there is some freezing rain out there. We've had reports of slick roadways from Paducah, Kentucky, down towards Nashville. The suburbs outside of Atlanta, some of our Weather Channel employees coming into work this morning found some freezing rain on the windshield, and numerous reports of accidents over towards Huntsville, Alabama on Route 231. Of course, they're getting out, they're trying to sand some of the roadways, but be very careful if you're traveling through here. At least the first part of the day, as temperatures warm up, the conditions may improve somewhat. Sprinkles then back towards Louisiana and down into Texas, a few light rain showers. To the north, of course, it is snow. Light snow. This is the same storm system that affected the southwest, brought about 2 feet of snow to Arizona, more than a foot of snow to parts of New Mexico, and some snow to Colorado. Well, looks like generally 2 to 4 inches of snow here, spreading north and eastward. Minneapolis, St. Paul, well, it was sunny yesterday. Today they should get some snow. Already have some snow on the ground. Looks like a pretty good bet for a white Christmas here. Temperatures yesterday only got into the low 20s, but the folks in Minneapolis, that just doesn't bother them. The sun is shining, they go out, they have a festival outside. Sounds crazy to folks that live down south, but it looks like today they'll get more of what they like, and that is some snow. So, shaping up like this. Here are some of the snowfall amounts through the center of the country. Scottsbluff, Nebraska, topping the list with 5 inches. Doesn't look too bad. Certainly not compared to what we had yesterday with 3, 4, 5 inches of snow expected. This storm is definitely weakening pretty quickly as it moves eastward. It's moving into drier air, so that's fizzling that storm system. Next one on the way in, though. Take a look at this. Cold front holding just off the coast. Already we have some rain and snow coming into northern California. McLeod in Northern California reporting 2 inches of snow on the ground and snow coming down heavily at this point. It is raining around San Francisco, Sacramento. And it looks like through the Sierra Nevada range in the next 24 hours we could get a good foot of snow. So the ski resorts out west are happy as can be. Just about everywhere across the country cold enough for snow, and we do have a variety of weather today, from blustery and clear to the north. Freezing rain around Atlanta, 32 degrees. Just cold here with a little bit of snow in the plains and temperatures in the 20s. Actually, it's not as cold as it has been the past few mornings. We've had temperatures reported the past few days as cold as 32 degrees below zero in Yellowstone Park. So, getting a little bit better out there. It's just a gradual improvement. Let's take a look at a couple of radars and we'll show you what's going on out there. Now around Memphis we had some freezing rain earlier. The rain has moved on. It's moving east-northeastward pretty quickly at around 30 to 35 miles per hour. Around Huntsville, again, some accidents on the roadways. North of Atlanta and some of the suburbs, a little bit of freezing rain. Slick spots on the roadways due to freezing rain up through central Tennessee and into Kentucky. This is probably going to be one of the worst spots on the roads this morning. That may end a little later on, but the snow will continue here, generally pretty light, 3, 4, 5 inches of snow expected. Moving in on Chicago now. Detroit may see a little bit of snow later in the day. Not anything real heavy. Here's our storm system. I think you can pick it out right here, a little swirl in the clouds. It's weakened considerably, but it's shifting on to the east and moving into drier air, so generally some light snow with that one. Pretty quiet across the nation, but the next storm system, as I mentioned, coming into the west today, you can pick it out real clearly right here. This band of moisture that's already in place over California is sort of the preliminaries. Already we have some rain and some snow, but the main front will pull in a little bit later in the day, and we have another system coming in behind that one. We'll get to all this in the forecast. Let's take a look. Here we are midday on Sunday, light snow coming across Iowa, our storm system pulling into the western lakes. Out in California, the main front right here, coming over the Sierra Nevada, heavy snows today and especially tonight. And then this area of low pressure developing in Southern California, and that will pull the rain southward, and we could get some heavier amounts here as well. This is where most of the action will be over the next few days. Could get over an inch of rain in a few spots. This precipitation, of course, 1/10 of an inch of precipitation, but that's all going to be snow. And a few spots could get as much as a half foot, but in general, pretty light stuff here. For this part of the country, not that big of a deal. Definitely the heavier snows coming in with that major snowstorm coming into the west. Temperatures still pretty chilly down south today, 30s and 40s. Even Florida has cooled off. The front slid through, so yesterday they got temperatures in the mid-80s. Today it doesn't look like they'll crack the 80-degree mark. Overnight tonight, cold, but again, not as cold as what we have seen the past few mornings. We've had temperatures 20 to 30 below, so we may have temperatures as much as 10 below, and that's about it. Warming up slightly as we head back to work on Monday. Along the Gulf Coast looking a little better. Florida sees the 80s again. Good news for the folks heading southward to escape all of this cold air. But in reality, these temperatures are not that cold for this time of year. 20s and 30s, and actually warmer through the Rockies now with afternoon highs in the 30s instead of 20s. That's not too bad. And actually on Thursday, up towards Amarillo and Oklahoma City, some spots that are getting snow today and got snow yesterday will be pretty warm. Back on Monday now, snow showers in the northeast, a few sprinkles down south. Here comes that snowstorm into the Rockies, rain into Texas. Next one coming in quickly behind it. Looks like an active weather week. More snow coming into the northeast by Thursday.
Around the clock, the Weather Channel staff has the details you need to plan your work or play. Use the Weather Channel anytime, day or night.
Well, we've had a lot of snow in the past few days and more heavy snow on the way in. Colin Ventrella gives us a look at a knack of measuring heavy snow.
Business week as we started off for a brand new work week, and we're looking at the national satellite photograph this morning, and what really sticks out is this right here. Now we've got an area of low pressure that is not only at the surface but built all the way up into the upper parts of the atmosphere, so we call it a vertically stacked low. It's a very deep low, therefore it is not moving that quickly. So we're going to be dealing with this low pressure over the next 48 hours or so before it finally starts to weaken. A lot of times when a system is vertically stacked, it sort of spins itself out and weakens very quickly as it continues to try to move out of the area. But it has dumped some heavy rains around Sedalia, Pettis County in central Missouri. We've had reports of 2.5 inches of rain. We have some thunder showers that are going to rotate around this with spokes of energy rotating around the low. Yesterday we saw heavy rains as far east as in through Pennsylvania. Today, again, from around Indianapolis through Chicago and in through Iowa, we could see some strong storms. Meanwhile, across Florida, we're going to get breaks in the clouds today. Therefore, we could have a chance of some strong thunderstorms to develop in the afternoon hours, but also we're going to have the heat on in the southern parts of Florida, so a heat advisory has been issued throughout this area. What's been happening is rotation around a low in a counterclockwise direction, and we've had the moisture being pulled basically around this time, moisture being pulled out of the tropics, so our subtropical jet stream is pushed far to the south. We're seeing some problems this morning, or actually over the last few days throughout Florida. Today, from around Tampa to, let's say, around Gainesville and Ocala, we could have some heavy rains this afternoon. Fog is very widespread because of all the moisture sitting around the northeast. We have delays at JFK and Pittsburgh this morning. So you want to check ahead with your air carrier because we are running a little behind schedule with the very dense fog. In fact, dense fog advisories have been issued for portions of North Carolina. The moisture is very deep in the atmosphere right now. Dew points in the 60s all the way up on through Burlington, where yesterday we hit a record high yesterday. We won't see that today as a backdoor cold front will slide on through the region. As far as the severe storms here from central Illinois through most of Indiana, down on through Louisville and Lexington and including Nashville, it'll be more of a scattered strong variety from Asheville down on through Florida today, and also across the west. We could get some thunderstorms trying to pop here as well. Right now we take an investigation of the national radar scene, and you can see the spin in the radar picture right here. And as we take you in a little closer, some of the problem spots this morning include Fargo up through Grand Forks and a strong thunderstorm riding right along Interstate 90 from St. Paul to Minneapolis. You're going to see some storms, so it's going to be kind of a rough go through the morning hours. Now, as this low very, very slowly ekes toward the east, thunderstorms again will develop from really St. Louis and Kansas City all the way through Pittsburgh, where we saw the flooding problems of a few days ago. And our backdoor cold front will slide on in from the north, and we're going to be talking about a much cooler day across northern New England today, and then you'll really feel the cooling tomorrow in New York City, in Philadelphia, in Boston, Atlantic City. So hang in there. You're going to get the cooling down as we head on into Tuesday. So here it is, where we have the upper low spinning. Temperatures going to be in the 70s all the way down on through the Ozarks. Meanwhile, in the west, the heat continues to be on through the Sacramento River Valley. Tomorrow, you notice the 60s coming in from Boston all the way back on through State College or so, only in the 60s because of this front, but we'll jump you back up there into the 70s as we head through Wednesday afternoon. And right on through the week, we'll have the heat in the west. Temperatures starting to rise again throughout the Ohio River Valley, but for the most part it's going to be very normal type week as far as temperatures are concerned. It's going to be rainy though, as the low continues very slowly to eke toward the east. Showers and thunderstorms basically through mid to late week, really from Chicago to Detroit. Showers and thunderstorms will pick up in intensity as we head through the latter part of the week around New York City down through Asheville and Greenville, and we'll have our isolated thunderstorms like we normally do throughout portions of the Intermountain West. If you have a business trip planned, you have some specific forecasts for you. Select cities are next.
Have you tried multigrain Cheerios?
Multigrain? I wouldn't like it. I'll tell you why. First, it's healthy. It can't be good. This is good. Second, probably tastes like cardboard.
Crispy. Nice and light. Crunchy.
Third, it's too bulky.
3, 4.
4 different kinds of oats, toasted with a touch of
Brown sugar. Those are delicious.
Too much of that whole grain, new age sort of stuff. Know what I mean?
Once you try it, you can't deny it.
I like it. I'll tell you why. First,
Whether you ride in on a Mustang or a Bronco, Marathon makes the most of your horsepower. Marathon gasoline. It brings out what your car was meant to be. Right now, fill up with Marathon Premium and get a free 2-liter of Pepsi. Come into your free Pepsi now.
Business. Good morning, and thanks for joining us here on a Monday. It looks like New England will cool down today.
That's right. We have a backdoor cold front moving through and starting off, of course, in northern Maine, and then eventually that cool air will slide on down to some of the big cities like New York and Boston.
That's right. Speaking of the big cities, we have some problems in the big cities this morning. We'll tell you what those problems are, and we'll have a look at Florida. That's all coming up next on WeatherScope.
For a scope of coverage you won't find anywhere else, this is WeatherScope This Morning.
Well, we have had problems in some of the big cities along the eastern seaboard, the eastern 2/3 of the country, all over the week.
I have friends in Seattle, and they said, Jody, when is summer coming? It's just been an awful May and in the beginning part of June, but now summer is in full swing, and for some maybe just a little bit too hot. In fact, this is the place to be. Put the kids in the raft. Make sure, though, that they have a life jacket on. How about that? Put a life jacket on them, put some sunscreen on them, and send them to the beach, because that's the coolest place that you're going to find across portions of at least the valley areas of California. If you're fortunate enough to live right along the ocean, you are definitely getting some cooling temperatures really from around San Francisco to Los Angeles and in through Long Beach. Right next to the ocean, it is a lot cooler. Look at these highs, though, from the valleys. Woo! It's 106 in Sacramento, San Francisco coming in at 99 degrees, Oakland at 95. But no, Los Angeles not on the list, San Diego not on the list, and there's a reason why. We had an onshore flow on Sunday afternoon around Los Angeles, rotating around the low. If you just drew a circle in a counterclockwise direction, the offshore winds coming in and warming up the coastal areas, okay? Not the coastal areas necessarily, but yeah, the coastal areas too, but the inland areas especially. And then with an offshore wind, we had the low clouds around, and you get this kind of a difference. Okay, 105 at San Jose compared to 77 at Los Angeles. Now, LA, looking at the same today. It's going to be cloudy with 78 degrees, so you're going to have more of an offshore wind again. You're going to have, or an onshore wind, I should say. San Francisco, it's going to be sunny, pretty pleasant today, 82 degrees, but you head just a little inland, right around the valley areas, and we're going to be talking about temperatures much warmer again. 90s. The areas in red indicate where we're going to have 90-degree temperatures again. So the same setup for this Monday. There was some fog, there was a little bit of drizzle this morning around Santa Barbara and in through the Long Beach area. You could see a few sprinkles here and there. It's just because of the low clouds that are sticking around here. We're going to have more of a northerly flow coming in right parallel to the coastline of Oregon. So let's say around just outside of Portland, right along the shoreline, really around North Beach, North Bend area. That's where we're going to have the breezy conditions. Big high pressure, though, planted right over the west. That is keeping you dry and it's keeping you hot. And that pattern is going to continue over the next several days. We really don't see much of a change. But, you know, for June, that is very, very typical to see a dry time of it across the west. Normally in June we don't see a lot of rain. Maybe we see 2 inches up around the Puget Sound area, but throughout California, very typical in the month of June not to see any rain at all. But this June we've had the bonus rains. We've had even places in Southern California picking up a ½ inch of rain. And for you and I, of course, that's great for the yard, but for some, this is the dry season, and that is not the time of year we do see a lot of rain. Waking up anywhere from 78 degrees at Vegas to 56 in Billings to 49 degrees in Williston, and we're waking up to thunderstorms this morning around Minneapolis, 71 in Chicago. In Chicago, you can see some thunderstorms by the afternoon.
Yeah, that's right, Jody. Here's the midday hour, and you see the check your rain gauge if you're in Chicago, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, St. Louis. As much as perhaps a ½ of an inch to an inch can fall. And Jody, you know, with the clouds and the rain, we only anticipate today temperatures in the 70s for most of the Midwest.
And you know, that's good. After last week when they were in the 90s, I think I talked to my family and I know they're happy that the heat wave is done.
I know, the big heat wave, it's over. Stay with us here on the Weather Channel, because coming up in just a moment we have the forecast for the rest of your work week.
Honey, I know you got a deal, but it's not going to all fit. You're going to have to leave something. Hey!
So, Grandpa, what do you think? Sure doesn't look like a deer. Where's the green? Feels like a deer. Looks like a deer. It must be a deer.
The John Deere 14PZ walk-behind mower. Everything you'd expect from a deer.
But where's the green?
For more information about John Deere lawn and garden equipment, contact your local John Deere dealer.
It is time for international weather, which is sponsored by Network MCI Business. Install it in your office today. Checking out temperatures from Sunday. Boy, oh boy, if you have a trip planned to London or Shannon, Ireland. I met some folks over the spring that were from Ireland, and I'll tell you what, I'm sure they're sweltering the temperatures in the 80s. Normally it's not this warm throughout portions of Ireland or through the London area. It's been a little cooler right here. Throughout this area, you can see temperatures 77 in Frankfurt, 72 in Zurich, compared to 75 already up in Shannon, and we've got 75 in Copenhagen. So temperatures have been much warmer to the north, and as we head on through Tuesday, it will still continue to be a little cooler, a little wetter. Here you can see a low that's going to come out of the Mediterranean. It's going to bring some rain showers across Italy and then through the Sicily region, so temperatures will be held down into the 60s. Here you look at sunny skies in Brussels if you're heading on Tuesday. How about partly cloudy in Frankfurt? But it's going to be cloudy and cooler in Vienna.
How do you know? Who do you trust? What do they really say? Only one long-distance company gives you written proof that your business saves over AT&T. There's no question about savings with MCI's Proof Positive.
Whirlpool room air conditioners help create a comfortable home environment for work and play. Our unique dual-flow 12-way louvers direct cool air where you want it. Plus, our Quiet Miser feature reduces distracting noises as your family relaxes. And our exclusive Comfort Guard control keeps rooms at the temperature you like. Whirlpool air conditioners, creating a comfortable environment that helps you make a home run. See your local Whirlpool dealer for details.
It is a Monday morning. It's time to start thinking about the work week, and then we'll get on in to start thinking about the next weekend, I should say. But this weekend, once again, a pesky upper low sitting and spinning right through the nation's heartland, and scattered showers and thunderstorms all along the east.
That's right. That has been the story this past weekend, certainly with 2/3 of the nation under the gun with scattered showers and storms, and pretty hot for the western third of the country.
That's right. In fact, we're going to tell you how hot it was yesterday. That's coming up next on WeatherScope.
scope of coverage you won't find anywhere else. This is Weather Scope This Morning.
Indeed, it was very hot across the western United States. It looks like you're finally getting a little bit of that summertime weather after having a pretty cool June, at least to start out with in June, but we're ending up on a hot note. To take you to Sacramento, this was the only way to stay cool. Take the kids to the lakes and the rivers and make sure you have life jackets, sunscreen, you know the drill, all the things that you need to keep you safe out there in the sun. It was very hot yesterday in Sacramento, enough for a record. Let's show you those records. 106 degrees yesterday in Sacramento, California, 105 in San Jose, even downtown San Francisco, looking at 99 degrees. But Southern California not making our list. Well, we actually had an onshore wind in Southern California. Rotation around a low in a counterclockwise direction. So we were seeing the offshore wind warming as it comes down the mountains. We see warmer conditions like we saw yesterday through the valleys. And then this onshore wind brought the low clouds and onshore winds. And you got temperatures like these. 77 at Los Angeles yesterday compared to 105 in San Jose. So that wind flow from the ocean can definitely make a difference. And it's going to be an onshore wind again in Los Angeles. So it's going to be a cloudy day today with 78 degrees. San Francisco, going to be sunny today, 82 degrees, I should say. So not quite as warm in San Fran, but still very hot through the interior sections. We're talking about temperatures 90s, the areas in red. So boy, it's going to be a sizzler again throughout the Sacramento Valley. The reason? Low is still in place. It really is a thermal low. We got some fog this morning around Santa Barbara, so take it slow in Interstate 5 as you get out early this morning. It's going to be a little breezy up around Portland today. Hood River, for those that want to do the windsurfing thing, looking breezy throughout the Columbia River Basin. We've got that big high in place here across the west with this pattern, so the hot and dry weather will continue right on through today. We're starting out, of course, in the wee morning hours, 58 in Salt Lake City, 55 in San Fran, 62 in Los Angeles, and as we head toward the east, we've got 65 in Des Moines. We've had some rain showers that have been spreading here across portions of Missouri, right around that upper low as Vivian and I were talking about, and in fact those showers have spread as far north.
What are you really watching when you're watching your weight? Well, watch this. Creme caramel, mint chocolate cream pie, coconut cream pie. Only Dan & Light gives you all the flavors you crave. We know what it's like, so we give you what you like. Taste why it's Dan & What?
You're watching the Weather Channel. Stay tuned for more details on the cold front making its way through the New England states. Coming up on the Weather Channel.
And we thank you for joining us on the Weather Channel as we check on the satellite picture. This is a visible satellite picture, which is actually just like taking your Instamatic camera and looking at the clouds. And I'll tell you what, we've had quite a bit of cloud coverage building over the Midwest, the upper Mississippi. And we thank you so much for joining us on the Weather Channel. Stay tuned because we have your hometown weather coming up in a moment. Right now, though, it's time for a seasonal solution, which is sponsored by Hunter Ceiling Fans. Quiet for life.
Paddle ceiling fans were one of the first inventions to use electricity. They've been keeping us cool for over a century, and today are part of an energy-efficient approach to climate control. A ceiling fan sweeps air downward, creating a cooling, wind chill effect on the skin. The effect lets you tolerate warm days without air conditioning. When hot weather sets in, run the fan along with the air conditioner. You'll get away with a higher thermostat setting, and since fans use little energy, you'll gain significant savings on energy bills. In winter, run the fan in reverse. You'll save by reclaiming warm, heated air that's risen to the ceiling. To maximize these benefits, choose a fan with blades that are properly balanced and have a steeper angle. It'll move the most air. Ceiling fans, after all these years, they're still a great idea.
It's powerful enough to reduce cooling bills by up to 40%. Strong enough to move 9,500 cubic feet of air per minute. Still, the Hunter ceiling fan is the quietest thing in the room. Hunter, quiet for life.
Rosetto Pasta announces the end of Tuesday as we know it. Monday starts the week. Friday's party time. Tuesday's not even a midpoint. It's dull. Save Tuesday with the Rosetto Pasta Rescue. RPR for short. Once your family tastes Rosetto ravioli with its ricotta, pecorino, and Parmesan cheeses spiced to perfection, they might actually like Tuesday because they'll get an authentic pasta dinner with the ease of boiling water. So mark your calendar. Rosetto every Tuesday. Comes around every week or so. Purchase required. Look in your freezer case.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Jill Brown here in the studio. My director this hour is Ralph Stoltz, and we have basically the same story as yesterday. Some of the players may have changed just a little bit, but unfortunately this pattern is going to be with us for a few more days. So if you live in the east, you're probably going to see at least some rain. If you live in the west, it looks like sunny, hot weather is what you'll be looking at. Still hot and dry, the result of a very slow to change pattern. So we're looking at highs well over 100 in some locations. In the east, we had very heavy rain, especially Ohio and Pennsylvania and parts of Florida yesterday. A lot of reports of flooding. Subtropical jet stream has been bringing in some extra heavy-duty rain for Florida. It looks like that will be a problem at least for one more day, and then we may see some improvements for Florida. So we'll get to that in a moment. But first thing I want to show you here is California and explain why it's been so hot here. We've had a little area of low pressure here, and of course around low pressure winds circulate in a counterclockwise direction, meaning onshore breeze to the south, and that's why we've had the low clouds, and that's why you still have them this morning around LA, so it hasn't been quite as hot here. But an offshore breeze, of course, keeps that cool marine air off the coast, and it can get very, very hot. That's what happened yesterday. San Jose 105 degrees, while LA more comfortable, but a little cloudy. Especially today, 77 there. Here are your current readings. Now, of course, it's early in the day. It's 63 right now around the Burbank. 58 in San Francisco. Interior valleys of California are probably going to be quite hot again today. Here's the latest satellite picture then the west. Hardly a cloud to be found, but you can certainly pick out the marine layer. Again, an onshore breeze, so the low clouds off the water will come in, and you probably even have a little bit of drizzle, perhaps anywhere from LA down towards San Diego. Otherwise, it looks good so far. We might have a few thunderstorms popping up, but of course the majority of the rain will be in the east, associated with this area of low pressure and a very unsettled air mass here. We have very high dew points, so heavy rain is expected. Yesterday we had a number of flash flood watches in effect. Now, while we do expect rain throughout this area, we don't have flash flood watches yet because we haven't had any real heavy rain just yet, but that may be changing. Parts of Pennsylvania and Ohio, as I mentioned, had 2 or 3 inches of rain, sometimes in an hour's time yesterday. So more rain today may quickly issue flash flood watches. Severe weather potential again, especially here from Illinois to Indiana, over towards about Dayton, Ohio, and down towards the Nashville area. And I think that'll be our first radar stop for the day. Chicago looks like a thin band of showers and thunder showers, especially over towards the Rockford area and the western suburbs. Looks like a little break, so it may not be too bad right out at the airport. Around South Bend and Gary, a cluster of thunder showers coming up. And around Columbus, we have some heavier rain, especially with this cluster of thunderstorms. Real heavy rain, and it's a slow mover heading north. So we might see our first reports of flooding in this area. Definitely some downpours that can cause low visibility, maybe some ponding on the roadway. So keep that in mind. It looks like it's southeast of Columbus, heading on down towards the Athens area. Now back here around Sioux City to Des Moines, it rained all day yesterday, raining again today. Kansas City, believe it or not, even though we were talking flooding here about a month ago, they've had 13 straight days of dry weather, so actually they could use a little bit of rain, and you have at least a chance of showers. Maybe a couple thunder showers later today. All right, Florida, as we mentioned, we'll just kind of circulate around this area of low pressure in the east. Next stop is Florida, and here we have showers and thunderstorms in Ocala again. Tampa, worst of it was Saturday. Had a little break really yesterday, but it looks like you're in line here for more heavy thunderstorms today. We think that tomorrow you may get a little bit of a break as high pressure tries to build in and push the rain out of the picture. We'll keep our fingers crossed for that. From Raleigh to Durham, thunderstorms here, on up towards Roanoke, Smith Mountain Lake, possibly a little wet, maybe a little stormy this afternoon. And we do have a front dropping down from Canada, and that's going to help to start focusing the thunderstorms here. They're already beginning to build around the Wilkes-Barre area and possibly on over towards Poughkeepsie fairly soon. Here's that front as it drops down. Again, we might see a little bit of an enhancement here, so maybe more of a concentration of thunderstorms. Could be heavy. we might see some heavy rain with the high dew points in the 70s. But eventually, as this front comes through, it'll cool off some of that sticky summer air that you have in place over southern New England. Let's check our forecast and we'll find out. Our Good Afternoon forecast is sponsored by Bird's Eye, the fresh look for vegetables. All right, here's how it looks. Boston looks like that front will be through by early afternoon, but it will probably be pretty wet there. New York City, didn't see much rain yesterday, but we think you will today. Philly, the same is true. D.C., well, pretty much anywhere in the east there's a chance of rain. Tomorrow morning it's probably going to die down, but with the heating of the day, thunderstorms will build up again. Now, we think there'll be just enough moisture for a few isolated storms here in the west, especially eastern New Mexico into West Texas, where we could see over a ½ inch of rain. Heaviest today across Illinois and Indiana. Looks like West Virginia, maybe Garrett County, and Maryland could see over an inch to about 3 inches of rain. In spite of the rain, temperatures are pretty comfortable out there. We have a little streak of 90s that will head up into eastern Virginia. Southwest hot, as we mentioned, the hottest location, valleys of California. You can see that little white dot. That's indicating we think we'll probably see some locations get up over 100. And actually stay pretty warm in the 70s overnight tonight. Tomorrow, more of the same. No big changes. With more rain here, we might see some 60s, but those return to 70s by Wednesday. It should begin to dry out and then heat up somewhat here in the plains as we see the 80s come back by the end of the work week, and we may even see some 60s dropping in here to the north. But in general, these temperatures look about right for this time of year. Maybe, again, a little hot in the west. Isolated thunderstorms in the Rockies, and maybe a few out here in the plains. But most of that rain is going to be day after day here in the east, just slowly inching farther to the east. So it looks like New England will see more rain as we head towards the weekend. And hopefully in Ohio and Illinois, and maybe down towards Nashville, it'll begin to clear out, so you'll have a nice day on Saturday. If you're going to head to the beach or maybe the local lake earlier than the weekend, stay tuned. We'll check those conditions next.
Label, you know, I'm very careful about what kind of sweetener I choose. I mean, the pink stuff, if you ever read this little label, it's got saccharin in it. There is no saccharin in Equal. It's real simple. This stuff tastes good. It's got no saccharin. I choose Equal.
You can also choose Equal Measure for recipes and pictures of drinks. It's Equal in new bulk pouches.
And now for our tropical update, and of course we're only a few weeks into the season. We've already had our first hurricane, which was Allison, that developed, 2 days after the beginning of the season. It came ashore on the 5th. So now our second named storm would be Barry as we go alphabetically through the list. But at this point, we don't see any potential Barrys out there. We take a look at the Atlantic. Now this time of year, really, even though we see this cluster of clouds, thunderstorms probably coming off the coast of Africa, the water temperature is a little too cold at this time of year to see this develop. So come late July or August, this would be something we'd be watching pretty closely. And actually things are real quiet, hardly any clouds at all here as we take you across the Atlantic and into the Caribbean. Looks very nice for vacationers down here on the islands. Last week we had a lot more clouds with a couple of different waves that came across, and we had some needed rain through here, but now back to full sunshine. Looks good over here into the Caribbean. These clouds, I guess, associated with the tropical wave, but it's coming in towards Central America, and once it goes over land, that's basically it. And that one's, it's been hanging around since yesterday, but it doesn't look very favorable for development. And as we put that in motion, you can see, there it goes. Thunderstorms kind of building up this afternoon after dying down overnight. Nothing to worry about there. Now out here in the Gulf of Mexico, this looks pretty interesting, but it's basically just a trough of low pressure. A lot of rain in Florida with this one the last few days, and we think that that's going to be a problem again today. You can see, look what's going on here. This big cluster of clouds here just about to come ashore. Tampa, you didn't have a whole lot yesterday. Today may be different. We may begin to see some flooding problems again. But it does not look like this is going to develop into anything tropical. For starters, we have winds out of the west in the upper atmosphere that will be too strong to allow anything to develop. Now, a little bit later in the week, we may see high pressure begin to build over this region in the upper atmosphere, so that may make it a little bit more favorable for development. But right now, I think the worst of it is it's going to be kind of rainy in Florida this afternoon. Into the Pacific we go now. Mark Mancuso and I were just studying this a little bit earlier, and it looks like we have a big cluster of clouds here, tropical wave that's heading off to the west. It is more favorable here for development because we do have that high pressure zone in the upper atmosphere. And it looks like we have maybe a little disturbance here as well. So a couple of different areas to watch. Nothing that we've heard from the Hurricane Center that looks too serious at this point. So We're going to play it low-key for the time being and keep checking back on it. So nice and quiet in the tropics. Closer to home, looks like our weather today is going to look very much like yesterday. That may be good news or bad news for you. Here in the Central Plains, it's been kind of nice. We had that heat wave about a week ago, so now temperatures are back closer to normal. The heat wave is here in California. Valleys have been up over 100. We're talking 105 in San Jose yesterday. Sacramento was, what, 104? And we'll still have basically an offshore breeze in northern California, so it should be pretty hot here again today. Southern Cal, however, you have the onshore breeze, so that's bringing the moisture in from the Pacific, and a little cloudy out there. That little dot of yellow on the map indicates some fog, and we'll probably even have a little drizzle out there. So that's one concern, but most of the really active weather will be in the east, especially associated with this area of low pressure as it's pulling very, very slowly to the east. We probably will see some severe weather across Illinois and Indiana and possibly down into Kentucky today. So by the later the afternoon hours, we'll be filling a lot in with the green. Just like yesterday, started off kind of quiet and sunny, but as the day wore on, clouds began to build and we saw thunderstorms all over the place. We had a lot of reports of severe weather, just kind of dotted, not like one concentrated zone. But we also saw some very heavy rain. So we were concerned about the two of those things this afternoon. Pennsylvania to Ohio, we had 2 or 3 inches of rain yesterday in some locations, and more expected today. Could mean some flooding. Of course, Florida, it's been day after day of heavy rain, as we mentioned. Today it looks like it'll be from, well, maybe Tampa on up towards Jacksonville and maybe over towards Tallahassee. Tomorrow, hopefully a little bit better for you. Here's how it looks Tuesday mornings, Matt. Basically just an area of low pressure now. The front has kind of fallen apart. This backdoor front has slipped down through southern New England, so it'll be cooler, less humid, and probably drier for you there tomorrow after kind of a wet and stormy day today. So here's our high pressure zone pulling up across Florida. South Florida, extremely hot today and humid. Stay inside with the air conditioning. Tomorrow doesn't look a whole lot better, but at least some of those heavier rains will come to an end. So here's what it looks like through 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Heaviest stuff, Illinois and Indiana. Also, as I mentioned, severe weather possible, and heavy stuff down into Florida. Temperatures looking about right for this time of year, maybe a little bit above normal for folks in the west. Valleys, as we mentioned, probably up over 100. We'll be watching for record heat, and it'll be uncomfortably warm here again tonight. Stay tuned. We'll check traveling conditions and check on a couple of radars for you as well.
Center, and we're keeping an eye on Hurricane Bertha as it moves its way up the coast of the Carolinas. And coming to you in this segment, we'll have live reports from South Carolina. Also, right here, as we've still seen those strong westerly winds in the upper atmosphere, pushing everything to that right of the center of circulation. It's moving its way to the north-northwest at 9 miles an hour. Pressure 985 millibars, wind sustained 80 miles an hour, so this is a Category 1 in the Stafford-Simpson scale. Center of circulation 190 miles south of Wilmington, North Carolina, and that's about 100 miles southeast of Charleston, South Carolina, and about 110 miles east of Savannah, Georgia. And from Savannah, Georgia to the North Carolina-Virginia border, hurricane warnings continue. In these areas, do look for winds getting up to hurricane force today. Also look for torrential rains and also the potential for a storm surge. Greatest strike probability pointed right about Georgetown, South Carolina, looking for a landfall if the storm continues with its present course and through the early afternoon hours, probably between noon and 2 p.m. And as you can see here, to the right of the center of circulation, we are looking for a storm surge of about 4 to 8 feet there, and already we are looking at the water levels rising about 1 to 2 feet above normal. High tide has already occurred, and the storm will be coming in at low tide, so that will help out just a little bit, but still, we are looking for a significant surge, and people in low-lying areas are told to get out. As you can see here, winds are strongest to the northeast of center circulation. Again, as I told you, everything's on the right-hand side of the storm, the real bad part of the storm, and with the storm expected to move to the north-northwest, those high winds will be coming into coastal South Carolina by the late morning hours and very early afternoon at the latest. Well, standing in the path of the storm is the Weather Channel's Bill Keneally. He's reporting to us live from Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. A haven for golfers, but today is pretty much a ghost town, isn't it, Bill?
That is right, Mark. I'd hate to be hitting upwind today. Tell you what, we're getting a reprieve again. There's not that much wind right now. It's a little bit gusty, maybe upwards of 30 miles per hour. There is some light rain falling, as you can see. It looks like it's pretty dark off to our east. It looks like these bands will be coming back in at us very, very shortly. Seas are running pretty high. Mark, you mentioned the high tide was about 6 o'clock this morning The tide is now definitely going on out a little bit. It did come up as high as the dunes. It did not breach any of these dunes. And I suspect, as we do have a low tide coming in the early afternoon, that will be well timed. As Mark, you also mentioned the threat of a landfall probably early this afternoon, a little bit to our south. We have to worry about that some, as we would be in a right front quadrant situation, so there may very well be some storm surge out of this.
And with that storm headed in your direction, a lot of people told to evacuate. Do you have any information on shelters in the area?
Yes, we do, Mark. In Horry County, which is the county including Myrtle Beach and really much of the Grand Strand itself, there are 10 officially sanctioned shelters, and within those shelters we have about 3,000 people so far. All the folks that are in the hotels were ordered out. They had to go, and even though it was a mandatory evacuation anywhere from the intracoastal waterway here to the beaches, the people that had the residences had the option, so I suspect a lot of those folks have decided to ride this one out here on the beachfront.
Okay, thank you very much, Bill. And we are looking for status quo for the next several hours, but things should get worse later on this morning. Okay, we'll talk to you in a little bit. Well, headed up the coast we go. We'll take you into North Carolina now, to Hanover County and into the Wilmington area. And reporting to us on the phone is Mr. Bruce Schell. He is the Public Information Officer for the Wilmington area. And we'd like to say first, good morning, Bruce. And could you tell us what is going on in the way of recommendations for the local residents of Wilmington and Hanover County?
At this point, we're telling everyone to stay where they are. The Riceville Beach, Carolina Beach, is continuing to deny access to the residents. We're in a holding pattern, watching the storm. Our wind levels have not been that high, and so we're getting some responses from citizens that they want to get out and about. So we're stressing with those folks to stay where they are and be patient and safe.
Yeah, with the landfalling storm, you get a lot of thrill seekers, and as you mentioned, there are some people out and about, but would you say that most people are cooperating?
Oh yes, we've had very good success with our evacuation, and very pleased with the way things are going.
Okay, and we'll be getting back in touch with you later on this morning as the storm gets closer to your area. Now let's take you back up the coast, and we'll take you into North Carolina's Outer Banks. And standing by is the Weather Channel's Jeff Morrow. And Jeff, your vacation being interrupted by this storm, and I'm sure that many other people are sitting back and waiting for the worst to come to the Outer Banks.
That's right, Mark, but well, for the Outer Banks anyway, fortunately, it looks like maybe the storm's, the worst part of it may not come up here. But as you were mentioning, the storm being asymmetrical and a lot of the worst convection or thunderstorm action on the east side, we're expecting that maybe some of that could come up here, and it looks a little bit ominous out here this morning. We can pan around, you can see the ocean kicked up a little bit. It's not that terribly high, it was a little bit worse yesterday, but you can see the horizon definitely dark. We'll pan around here to show you the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse, which is just south of me here. It has seen a lot of hurricanes in the past, and I'm sure there'll be more in the future. But this one so far doesn't look like is...
Las condiciones del clima para las próximas horas con Annalisa Fernández. ¿Qué tal, Annalisa?
¿Qué tal, Verónica? ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, gracias. Tengo entendido que el huracán Berta se acerca cada vez más a las Carolinas.
Exactamente. Se prevé que tal vez toque tierra hacia mediodía de este viernes. No se sabe con exactitud si en Carolina del Sur o en Carolina del Norte, pero está muy cerca de hacerlo.
Bien, pues adelante, te escuchamos.
Gracias.
Adelante.
¿Qué tal? Es un placer saludarles. Las condiciones en la Unión Americana, en la porción del oeste, se mantendrán secas en todo lo que se refiere al norte del país. Algunas lluvias se estarán presentando en California, en Arizona, Nuevo México y Colorado. Un frente frío estará provocando también nubosidad y lluvias en Oklahoma y Texas. También habrá lluvias en la región de los Grandes Lagos. Severas tormentas, principalmente en Wisconsin, se estarán registrando. El fenómeno meteorológico más importante en estos momentos es sin duda el huracán Berta, que se encuentra ya muy cerca de las costas del Atlántico Central. Tenemos más detalles para usted. El huracán Berta se localiza a 304 kilómetros al sur de Wilmington, Carolina del Norte. Sus vientos han disminuido de intensidad, ahora son de 128 kilómetros por hora. Su movimiento continúa hacia el noroeste a razón de 14 kilómetros por hora, ocasionando fuertes vientos y oleaje de 2 a 3 metros de altura. En tanto, continúa la zona de alerta por la presencia de este huracán, extendiéndose desde Brunswick, Georgia, hasta la frontera entre Carolina del Norte y Virginia. Además, también se ha emitido un aviso de prealerta desde el norte de Carolina del Norte hasta la ciudad de Chesapeake, Virginia. Carolina del Sur ordenó la evacuación de miles de residentes y vacacionistas en las playas de los condados de Horry y Georgetown, incluyendo el popular balneario de Myrtle Beach. Berta ha perdido intensidad en las últimas horas, sin embargo, sigue representando una gran amenaza, ya que el radio de sus efectos es muy amplio, 640 kilómetros. Berta avanza hacia las costas de las Carolinas, donde se espera que toque tierra cerca del mediodía de este.
Blows my newest invention, the breeze machine.
That's not a new invention.
Place up across New Jersey. We've had heavy tropical downpours at Atlantic City, Wrightstown, and Trenton. And right in the thick of things is our very own Rick Griffin. He's up in Highland, New Jersey, which is just a little bit to the south of New York City. Rick, what's the weather like right now where you are?
Cheryl, I would...
La exhibición de 170 fue un espectáculo
92.
Recientemente.
Now, there's very little rain at the moment. It's sprinkling. Most of the stuff in the air is the blowing sand off the beach. And they're having a few people out here, a few sightseers this morning, but I think they regretted coming out because most of them were wearing shorts. And this is just like standing in a sandblaster. It really is. The sand is just coming in. It's airborne. It's plastered all over everything. The camera in front of me, my jeans, my cameraman, Danny over here, is covered with sand. And as you can see, the sand is drifting right here against the rocks. So a lot of airborne sand out here. Occasional rain, but it looks like we're in between the heavier rain bands at this point because we have not had a heavy downpour in the last 45 minutes or so. Cheryl?
Rick, you were mentioning about the stronger winds, and actually within the last hour or so we have had some significant wind gusts around Ocean City, Maryland, wind gusts up to 63 miles an hour, and not too far from where you are, around Seaside Park and around Harvey Cedars, which is just a little bit farther to the south along the Jersey coastline. Again, wind gusts 50, 60 miles an hour, and some of the seas, we've had 6-foot swells near Seaside Park. Now, how do the seas look right now where you are?
By the way, this is probably the strongest wind gust we have had. It's getting a little difficult to stand up right here. So I'd say this is a 55-mile-an-hour gust or so. And as far as the seas are concerned, they continue to get higher and higher. The ocean is rougher and rougher. I guess, you know, there's going to be some beach erosion, some minor coastal flooding perhaps, but the good news, as I've been mentioning all morning, is the fact that the high tide was earlier this morning and the tide is now going out, and in addition to that, the wind is not completely perpendicular to the coast. It continues to come up in the southeasterly direction. Once again, nothing like storms that have happened a few years ago.
Yeah, you were talking earlier about comparing this storm, this tropical storm, to what happened with another gale force system that came in 1992, and what's the comparisons, or are there any?
Well, in that particular storm, December 1992, the water right here was about 6 feet deep, and it flooded the town across the way here, Highlands, New Jersey. So there really isn't any comparison. In fact, the strip down in Seabright, which is very prone to flooding in this type of situation, at least from what I heard about an hour ago, is still open, and they typically close it if it gets too bad. So last word was it was still open. The water not that high, seas pretty rough as you can see behind me, and a lot of blowing sand and occasional heavy downpours, tropical rain squalls, that sort of thing. Back to you.
Thanks a lot, Rick. Hang in there. I know the weather's getting kind of rough, but hang in there. We'll be checking back with you probably within the next half hour or so. Okay. Again, that was Rick Griffin reporting live from Highlands area of New Jersey, which again a little bit just to the south of New York City. Now, we have been seeing some nasty conditions developing today across the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. southeast, but really the worst conditions were yesterday when the hurricane made landfall very close to Wilmington. Let's show you some of the damage that was done across North Carolina yesterday as Hurricane Bertha lashed across the state. Well, Bertha brought heavy rains and strong winds to Elizabeth City, North Carolina. The town was inundated with floodwaters, as much as 5 inches of rain for some spots, and some residents say the water was as high as 3 feet deep in some spots. In addition, winds gusting up to 50 miles an hour knocked down trees and caused some minor damage to several buildings. So we have had all sorts of problems being caused by Hurricane Bertha. Well, right in the thick of things, we've had our very own Jeff Morrow. He's been in North Carolina. Right now, Jeff, he's in Hatteras, North Carolina. Jeff, what's the latest weather situation for you?
Well, it's a much nicer day here than, of course, what Rick is experiencing farther north up in New Jersey, but we experienced some of that last night. Let's go ahead and show you some of the shots that we had. This is the motel that we stayed in last night. You can see the wind blowing, our satellite truck getting buffeted pretty hard. We were having a hard time staying on the air at times last night. Now, this is what it looked like this morning. The sea's still a little bit angry, but the sun is out, and things really kind of calming down. Just some minor roof damage, and they're taking the lawn chairs and stuff back out of the pool. They actually put them in there. It's a good place to store them so they don't get blown away. So again, just some minor damage was all that occurred around here. Right now I'm standing pretty much in front of where the worst damage was on Hatteras Island. It pretty much overwashed here from the ocean, which is off to the left, and then came right through the dunes here, took out about 100 yards of dune and went right across the road. So this was impassable during the height of the storm last night. But as you can see, traffic is moving freely. The Park Service, National Park Service, does have a bulldozer there trying to push the sand back up into at least a little bit of a dune so that the time of the next high tide we don't have to worry about more overwash.
Jeff, have you had any reports about any power outages? And if so, how many people do you think might be impacted?
There is power out on the next island down. The only way you can get to Ocracoke Island is what I'm talking about, is by ferry, and they had power poles snapped off from the storm. They had it a little bit worse than Hatteras Island did, so they're still without power. They're on generator. Here on Hatteras Island, briefly the power went out last night, but it's now back on. So it's just a few thousand people or so that are down on Ocracoke Island that are without power so far this morning.
Well, thank goodness things are slowly, kind of gradually returning back to normal for the folks across North Carolina. Thanks a lot, Jeff. We'll be checking back with you very shortly. Again, that was Jeff Morrow reporting live from Hatteras, North Carolina. Now, speaking of North Carolina, we still have had reports that the barrier islands remain closed in North Carolina at this point, especially around Wilmington and around Topsail Beach. Those are two areas that were particularly hard hit by Hurricane Bertha when it came on shore, so they still have a lot of damage in those areas. So again, the barrier islands remain closed at this point, but also we have some good news to pass along your way. It looks as if South Carolina beaches came through virtually unscathed, and if you're planning on going vacationing down across the Carolina beaches, like the South Carolina beaches, they seem to be open for business. It's just the outer islands of North Carolina that have had some major problems with Hurricane Bertha. Well, also in the thick of things, we've had Bill Keneally. He's been up in Wilmington, North Carolina, and he's, again, right where the hurricane virtually made landfall yesterday. Bill, how's the latest weather information right now?
Cheryl, the battering from Bertha is now over. It's a beautiful day here in Wilmington, and while the damage does not appear to be as heavy as it was in Hurricane Diana back in 1984 here in the city, there is incredible damage out on the barrier islands, especially out towards the Curry Beach area. During the last half hour, Governor Hunt of North Carolina and also FEMA Director James Witt have arrived on the scene, and they are now heading over to the barrier islands to inspect all the damage. I want to show you some of the pictures we shot from Wrightsville Beach last evening. You can see the cleanup has begun. A lot of destruction in the Wrightsville Beach area, Carolina Beach as well, and as mentioned, Curry Beach, very hard hit. This was right on the western side of the eye wall. Incidentally, reports from the Sneads Ferry area near
place up across
South. And speaking of which, today is the 53rd anniversary of a key storm in the history of weather forecasting. A tornado touched down at Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma on March 25th, 1948. It was the first time forecasters were able to predict severe weather. A powerful twister had hit the base 5 days earlier, and meteorologists warned that another tornado was likely to occur on the 25th. The advance warning gave base personnel time to prepare and began a new era of weather forecasting. Now, Now here's a look at the lightning that is going on across the southeast. Most of it is basically right near the panhandle here of Florida, where we have seen a few lightning strikes and some rumbles of thunder from Panama City over towards Tallahassee, now moving just to the east of Tallahassee. But most of the lightning is offshore. We do have a cold front that is sliding through the southeast. This is the triggering mechanism for the showers and thunderstorms across southern Georgia and the panhandle here of Florida. Behind our system, much cooler air is dumping in. Dallas, at least today, you're recovering. Even though it's cooler, yesterday you saw over 2 inches of rain, so at least it's dry. Right now, though, still not dry in Myrtle Beach or Wilmington. It's starting to clear out somewhat out of the Charleston area in case you're planning on your golf game here for later on this afternoon. Heavier downpours here across northern Florida, mainly to the east of Tallahassee. And you can see here a few embedded thunderstorms to the west of Gainesville. Most of this is producing about 1/4 of an inch of rain so far, but there's the potential underneath some of these thunderstorms to see as much as 1/2 inch of rain, especially across northern Florida. Temperatures have cooled off dramatically behind the front, as much as 10 to 15 degrees. Right now, we currently have 70 degrees in Orlando. Nice. And if you're going to check out Mickey Mouse later on today, do expect to see mostly cloudy skies. By later on this evening, a chance of an isolated thunderstorm, 78 degrees. Across the rest of the south, do expect some sunshine, Dallas, Houston, and Memphis. Now with more on the west. Well, do you have big plans coming up for this week? Maybe it's your spring break, so let's go ahead and take a look to see how it's going to shape up for you day by day. Right now, we're looking at the jet stream pattern, and basically what it's showing us is there's been cool weather across the northeast and the Midwest. One thing that we'll see over the next several days is pretty much we'll stay with the trough across the northeast and Midwest, but by the middle of the week, we'll finally start to see some warming across the southeast and eventually into the mid-Atlantic states. Now, for those of you in the western U.S., you're actually dealing with a ridging effect here, and that is allowing for temperatures to be running generally above the average, especially from Las Vegas to Phoenix. Temperatures running about 10 to 15 degrees above average, and the trend is for it to stay that way throughout the rest of the week. For today, though, the weather is kind of messy here, more wintry-like than spring-like across the Great Lakes and across western New York and western Pennsylvania. While across the southeast, some scattered rain showers, a few embedded thunderstorms across southern Georgia and northern Florida. While in the western U.S., we do have rain and snow in the higher elevations. Also, there's been a light mix here of freezing rain and sleet around the Colorado Springs area. May make it a little bit slick on the roadways, especially since it's been fairly persistent throughout the day. On Monday, we dry out in the southeast in case you have that tea time tomorrow morning. Snow, though, is expected around New York City, Philadelphia, and also around Scranton, Pennsylvania, Albany, New York, and even around Hartford. We could be dealing with a couple of inches of snow here. We do have a disturbance moving across the Great Lakes, and by tomorrow morning it could produce, like I said, a couple of inches of snow. Across the eastern Colorado and across the panhandle of Texas, we're going to be seeing southeasterly winds come in and tap into the Gulf of Mexico. We'll be seeing upslope flow with rain and also the possibility of some snow showers, even as far south as Oklahoma. Some portions of the northwestern corner of the state will be dealing with some snow. Tuesday, we'll see even more moisture coming out of the Gulf and affect those of you in the nation's midsection. Wednesday, our storm system works its way eastward, basically right along the Mississippi River. So from St. Louis southward towards Memphis, Birmingham and Jackson, Mississippi, you'll be seeing some scattered rain and showers and also some thunderstorms. On Thursday, it looks like it could be kind of soggy in the east. Not a picture-perfect day to be going skiing for those of you trying to catch up on some of that last-minute skiing here for the springtime. But rain is possible across much of Tennessee and throughout Georgia, the Carolinas, and also across western Pennsylvania. Friday, temperatures for today well below the average across the upper Midwest by as much as 20 to 25 degrees colder than normal, while we do have that warmth across the southwestern U.S. with highs in some locations topping out into the 90s. Monday, we get rid of the teens, and we're going to try to work in some warmer air as we go through the next several days. Finally, for those of you in the Ohio River Valley and around the Chicago area, 40s on Wednesday, 50s are possible here by Thursday. Something to look forward to, especially if this is your spring break. On Friday, we see the 50s try to work their way into southern Wisconsin and across Michigan. That'll help to melt some of the snow that you're seeing today. We'll be right back. Definitely cold across the Northeast, and a big difference compared to yesterday. Washington, D.C. at this hour, you are 21 degrees colder than yesterday, so noticeable difference. Even though when you look outside, you see the sunshine, looks can sometimes be deceiving. Right now, it is 6 degrees colder in Albany and 4 degrees colder in Buffalo. The actual air temperature is 44 in D.C. We currently have 27 for you in Pittsburgh, 40 in Boston, 39 for you in Philadelphia, and your forecast in the Philadelphia area. Do expect to use those sunglasses later on this afternoon. Plenty of sunshine, 45 degrees for your afternoon high. Still staying below the average for this time of the year. Winds will be blowing out of the west at 15 miles an hour. Speaking of gusty winds, we do have them across the Northeast. Widespread area here of 10 to 20 miles an hour, but a few pockets here seeing winds gusting as high as 25 miles an hour. And with any wind chill and temperatures cooler than average, of course we're going to deal with a wind chill. Feels only like 2 above in Buffalo, only 9 in Albany, while it feels like 28 for you in Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C., your forecast for today, a high of 50 degrees, 42 in Boston. But notice here across western New York State, western Pennsylvania, not only is it cold, it also looks like winter outside because the snow is coming down. We do have lake-enhanced snow showers across Lake Ontario, and by later on this evening, more will be developing across Lake Erie. Upper-level storm system working across the Great Lakes will move its way eastward. As it does so, the snow will become more enhanced by overnight tonight, and that's where we do see problems here from Buffalo southward towards Erie and Jamestown. You do have lake effect snow watches posted for this afternoon and overnight tonight. Some areas could be seeing in excess of a half a foot of snow. Right now, though, the persistent bands of snow is currently coming off of Lake Ontario from Syracuse northward towards Watertown, and they're extending eastward now just to the south of Saranac Lake and over towards Glen Falls, and also just to the north of Albany, New York. And this may produce a couple of inches here for you. By later on this evening, here comes that disturbance moving across the Great Lakes region, and it will continue to progress its way eastward by tomorrow morning. New York City, you'll be waking up to some snow tomorrow morning. That could make it a little bit slick on the roadways as you're crossing over the Lincoln Tunnel tomorrow morning. And of course, any type of precipitation always slows traffic down. Speaking of traffic and highway conditions, here's Bob with a check of Florida, and that's because of our advancing cold front. Behind the cold front, considerably chillier air, but in advance of it, still fairly mild, but we're dealing with some scattered showers and a few embedded thunderstorms. Wilmington to Myrtle Beach to Charleston, you can see here the rain starting to push offshore, and across northern Florida, a few embedded thunderstorms mainly offshore. Your forecast, if you're going to check out Walt Disney World today, if you're going to Epcot or maybe to the Animal Kingdom Park, expect to see mostly cloudy skies, 78 degrees, but later on this afternoon, you may see an isolated thunderstorm or two. Across northern Florida right now, you can see here a band of rain moving towards Jacksonville and Gainesville, closing in on you. And for the most part, most of this rain is producing about a quarter of an inch of rain in an hour's time period. Heavier downpours are possible, as much as a quarter of an inch of rain across central Florida and half an inch of rain across northern Florida. So a cool day if you're planning on going out later on this afternoon for possibly a walk. And then you factor in the wind. Winds have been gusty around Albany, New York, where they're currently gusting to 23 degrees. Of course, putting a little bit of a bite in the air when you step out the door. Definitely a reminder that winter is still in full force here across the Northeast. Feels like it's only in the single digits and teens for many locations. A little more sunshine, though, right along the coastline, so it doesn't feel quite as cold, but still, it's nippy out here. It feels only like 29 in Boston and 34 degrees in Norfolk. We do have snow that is ongoing here across the Northeast. Right now, Lake Ontario fairly active across upstate New York. But by later on this evening, we do expect to see actually across western New York State and Lake Erie become more active during the overnight hours. Right now, snow is falling from Syracuse to Watertown, stretching over eastward towards Glen Falls and just to the north of the Albany area, and also some areas of snow showers being fairly persistent here across central Pennsylvania. Right now, you can see here that the snow showers are actually becoming more numerous, and they're scattered along as you travel along I-81, and a lot of times with lake effect snow bands, you can actually end up with near zero visibility from time to time, and then it breaks out and you have several miles visibility. So they do vary quite a bit, but especially around water towns where we've been seeing some of the heavier snow bands today. To the west of Harrisburg, affecting those of you in Du Bois, Johnstown, Altoona, and Pittsburgh, all of you have been seeing flurries fairly persistent throughout the day. Snowfall amounts generally 1 to 3 inches, but from Erie to Jamestown, you do have lake effect snow watches that are posted for tonight through tomorrow for significant snowfall in some of the favored areas. And by tomorrow, or by tonight, you'll see a little storm system working its way across the northeast. By tomorrow morning, measurable amount of snow is possible even in New York City and Philadelphia. Now with more around the Dallas area. In fact, for those of you going to the San Antonio March Madness game, the NCAA, 64 degrees for your afternoon high later on, and that's going to be Illinois versus Arizona. And as we travel just a little bit further to the east, Michigan State versus Temple in Atlanta, high for today of 57. No rain to deal with. The rain, though, and the showers are across the southeast, across southeastern Georgia, and across northern Florida. Here's a look at where those stronger storms are right now. You can see that they're racing off towards the east, just right now, just passing through the Gainesville area. And we do have the Players' Championship going on right now at Ponte Vedra Beach. And these storms are headed that way to the east-northeast at about 20 miles an hour. Further to the south, dry in Orlando and Tampa, but you can see here Ocala, you're just missing out on the showers right now. The heaviest of the rain is across North Florida. Temperatures are definitely cooler behind the front. Right now, 51 in Atlanta, 45 for you in Little Rock. Tonight, though, freeze warnings in effect across northern Alabama as temperatures will be dropping into the 20s. Now, with a check on the west, here's is across much of the south today. It is colder than it normally is for this time of the year, but at least for many of you, it is pretty outside. Now, your thunderstorm warnings right now, they have expired, but you can see here still a couple pockets here of fairly intense lightning. That's associated with our cold front that is sliding across northern Florida, and it's got showers and a few thunderstorms embedded with it. Behind the front, though, high pressure building in and considerably cooler air across much of the south. The rain, though, starting to exit out of Wilmington and also out of Cape Hatteras and also out of Charleston and Savannah. But you can see here right around the Jacksonville area, line of showers and thunderstorms working their way to the east. And these thunderstorms are moving to the northeast at about 20 miles an hour. They have had a history of producing some gusty winds, and there's a possibility here of seeing some hail. And this is not good news for the golfers that are at Ponte Vedra Beach here for the Players' Championship. This is definitely going to affect their play as these thunderstorms continue to move in. Further south, you can see here along I-95, most of the rain is going to pass to the north of you in Daytona Beach and also around Ocala, but just to the north of Ocala, probably hearing a few claps here of thunder that are just starting to develop. The heaviest of the rain across northern Florida and extreme southern Georgia. Here's the cool down behind the front. Right now, 24 degrees colder in Raleigh-Durham. Your actual air temperature is 49 degrees, 79 in Orlando, 81 in Miami. Tonight, freeze warnings in effect across northern Alabama. That's because overnight lows dropping into the 20s. Now with the check on the west, your thunderstorm.
For the next big thing, you do well to come out here to Cambridge and for
with them. It's about to sprout a web browser in that little screen, and it might change the shape of the device a little bit too. People love that idea.
Uh-oh, is this a case of a good acorn not being able to remain a good acorn and having to grow into a tree?
It'll sprout into a bigger tech tree, exactly. So the BlackBerry is going to keep up with the Joneses by sprouting some new advances, kind of like all the other PDA devices. New Palms, the new M500 and M505. If you think about the Palm 5, how we described it to listeners was take a Palm 5, make it a little thicker, but give it some new abilities like it's wireless ready. One of them has a color screen, and it has plug-in port on the back, just like the handspring. They're learning from their offspring in this case.
Now, I'd just like to mention that I see you regularly use yours. You have a Palm-based device that you make use of just everywhere. You carry it with you all the time.
I absolutely adore the Palm platform. We talk about it a lot with our users who are, they're getting delighted by the fact there's more than one. You don't have to just be a Palm user. You can be a Sony or you can be a handspring user, and they're eating it up.
However, also this week you mentioned that notebooks got lighter and faster at the same time.
A new aluminum notebook came out, an all-aluminum notebook, and the first 1 megahertz.
And not only faster, but the batteries last longer, right?
1 gig laptop, first time, Pentium 3 at 1,000 megahertz. That's a new benchmark. We've had it on desktops already. Now we've got it in laptops. A bunch of major makers rolled them out when Intel made it formally available.
Well, if they get light enough, maybe you'll toss your Palm device for a real laptop.
Never. I've got my little folding keyboard, my little 2-ounce organizer. It's like a laptop to me, but I tell you, they're getting really light and really powerful, and they're making the batteries last a long time. That's the real trick.
Sounds like a roll-your-own laptop.